All right, we should be live on our horizontal stream. And give me 1 second. We'll be live on TikTok once I remember to log into the right account. Welcome in, friends. We should be ready to rock and roll in just a minute. We're live on YouTube. We're about to be live on the TikToks. There we go. We're logged in on TikTok. Now we are live on TikTok. There we go. Perfect. Awesome. Ian, I'm going to do something real quick. Tell me if you can hear my keyboard.
Nope, can't hear it.
That's what's up. Okay. Love it. I think everything's working.
Excellent, excellent.
Well, friends, we've got bad news. Dr. Blitz is out this week. We've got good news. We're fucking here. So let's go. Should be a lot of fun. Let me open up the guest box before I forget to. There we go. And welcome in. Happy Sunday morning, friends. Let me grab a couple super chats. Thank you so much for being here this morning. It's going to be a lot of fun. C-Bar, thank you for the $2.99 super thanks. And former Prophet Nathan, thank you so much for the $1.99 super chat. Says, ready for the morning cookout. Well, hell yeah, former Prophet. We're ready as well. Let's see, Ian's joining up on TikTok. I got to do the same.
Yes, indeed.
Awesome. Now we're loaded up. Now we're ready. Okay. Fantastic. And then I got a schedule for December and January. Ian's going to be on the line with me coming up here in the near future.
Yeah, I'm excited to be there. Should be an exciting opportunity.
For sure. I don't know if there's anybody on the line that's really deep in the philosophical literature. Can you think of anybody?
I know J Mike goes on the Atheist Experience.
Right.
Does he go on the line ever?
Not yet.
Yeah. No, other than that, that's the main person that I know who's pretty deep into philosophy. So, yeah, it should be exciting.
I'm pretty
You know,
pumped.
philosophy is very polarizing, but I try to do my best to keep it accessible and interesting.
I think that's the key is I think a lot of people can follow a good philosophical argument as long as you don't bog it down with like all kinds of insider lingo. Then you just kind of lose people.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. There's ways of talking about philosophy and like the arguments themselves that really abstracts away from the main idea that's present there. Um, and I think that that's typically when people aren't able to keep up with the conversation. That's when people stop listening, is when it no longer makes sense and it sounds like extremely jargon filled.
Yeah, like too heavy on too heavy on the jargon, and even those that want to follow along will struggle to do so, and they'll eventually check out.
Yeah. I do think that that's like one of the difficulties of philosophy is that it is at least like the higher level philosophy can be very like jargon heavy. It doesn't necessarily need to be. There's certainly ways of describing all of it that avoid jargon. But unless I think it's difficult to unless both parties are trying to avoid the jargon, that the jargon gets avoided. Otherwise, I think that it's like very easy to fall into just like a lot of jargon back and forth, and the point becomes kind of abstract, where especially there's like a lot of thought experiments that happen in philosophy, and they're meant to demonstrate very specific points, but if something happens or you don't keep on connecting it back to the point that it's meant to demonstrate, then it can easily get away from what's actually being said. Like I think the electrons in love is a great example of that. I think that unless whenever I run electrons in love, I think that it confuses people unless I'm constantly like stating explicitly like what point it's meant to demonstrate that God had God could have created life in literally any set of constants, which means that there's no reason why he would choose these ones.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it's exciting. I want more people to get into philosophy. I think that that would be good for um, I mean like atheism in general, and then also for each individual in general.
Yeah, it certainly couldn't hurt. And like with the electrons in love, I've heard you give it a couple times, but even I had to like Google like put it in 5-year-old words for me sometimes. But
Mhm.
like I think J Mike was the first one that brought this up when I was on with him, which is you're 100% right. If God is all powerful, then any configuration of molecules he could have used as life. Like we had no idea that the specific arrangement we have now is the only way to do it. That would be preposterous.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also like necessarily not the case. If God is a mind that doesn't require any sort of brain, then that means that consciousness doesn't require a material basis to it in the Christian worldview or in the theist worldview. That consciousness can be imbued into anything in the theist worldview. It's just what they're
Yeah,
committed to. If consciousness does require some sort of material basis, then just from that it would follow that God isn't real because God doesn't have a material basis for his consciousness. So
100%.
they're committed to saying, like they're absolutely committed to saying that consciousness doesn't require any particular material basis, which means from that they're absolutely committed to saying that you could just have electrons that have some sort of consciousness to them.
Right. Let's grab our first guest. We've got a couple of people populated in the box. If you want to call in and you're not on TikTok, the link to join is tiny.cc/UA guest. If you're on TikTok, you already know how to get in. Just got to hit that guest request button. And with that, we're going to grab our first guest and bring in Olivia. Hi, how you doing, Olivia?
Oh shoot, I did not mean to request. Big fan of you guys. I was
No
like, oh,
worries.
that's my name. So okay, next person. So sorry about that. Have a
No
great day.
worries. Cheers. Have a great
It's all good.
one. Hey, W being a fan, appreciate that. Appreciate that. All right, let's bring in Mesmerize. Welcome in, Mesmerize. Are you at least 18 and do you believe in God?
I am, and I do. Good morning.
Awesome. And which God do you believe in?
Uh, did you hear me?
I heard ah.
God,
Gotcha.
the only God.
So you're a Christian.
Yeah, the first one that comes to mind when you hear the word God.
Hmm.
So you're a Christian, you just don't want to say it out loud?
No, I'm a Christian.
Oh,
Hmm.
You just
gotcha.
asked me.
Well, you understand that there are people in the Western world that don't think Christian immediately, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you go to
Right,
if you go to like Saudi Arabia and start talking about God, they're going to conjure like a different type of person. Or even if you're
right,
in like specific
right. But
American communities,
let's stay here and let's stay with the vast majority. Which, like I said, vast majority. If you ask, and they say God, it's the same God that we all know.
It's not the same
hmm,
God that we all know. In fact, I've got
Well, you know him.
agnostic God
You're
believers in
you're
my family,
you're
even though they live in the Western world, they believe in not the Christian God. So that's why we ask you to be specific because we don't want to be discussing like crossing paths talking about different gods. Okay, so what's the
fair enough.
best argument or the best evidence for the God that you believe in?
Beyond reasonable doubt, there's more things that point to his existence, whether that's through Christ or the Old Testament, rather than pointing to it being incorrect. One example, science. I don't know if you've watched a lot of documentaries on or articles on how science came about, but science was actually created to study the world's creation, and it came from Christian backgrounds.
So what?
Say again.
So what?
yeah, who cares?
Well, y'all claim that science is the thing that directly contradicts and causes problems, yet science was
I
created
didn't
solely
I didn't
from
make
the
that
purpose of
claim.
God.
Ian, did you make
Also,
that
this.
claim?
No, I didn't make that claim. I would never make that claim. I don't think that God's existence is a scientifically testable question. I don't think that there are specific empirical data points that you could go out there and gather to determine whether or not there is a God. Now, of course, you could use scientific data points and arguments for or against God's existence, but
But y'all
just
wouldn't want
whether
to
or
do
not
that.
God exists is not solely a scientific question. Also, this is just the genetic fallacy, saying that because it came from Christians, that means that science couldn't contradict or couldn't like serve as evidence against. I mean, I'm not even going to make the claim that science contradicts God's existence, but certainly
Yeah,
the
because
fact
it
that
doesn't.
science
It
was
doesn't.
invented by Christians has no bearing on whether or not God exists.
Gotcha. So I've heard y'all. I've talked to both of you a few times throughout the past 2 years. Um, Deconstruction Zone. I don't remember your name, and I don't want to call you Deconstruction Zone. What should I say when I'm talking to you?
You can call me Justin.
Justin. Okay. I believe we talked a while back, and you had mentioned before that you were a Christian, and I mentioned that your name was in the book. So we had a conversation there. Ian, we talked a few times, but I've never asked you. You've talked about different pictures of how God has made the world. Why did He choose this way? Why did He choose that way? What would you have picked? Everything's very complex when it comes to humans, animals, nature, the universe, the heavens. Earth is a heaven, universe is heaven, and then the real heaven that we think of in the Bible. So, with your brilliant mind, how would you have made it perfect
Yeah, I'll tell
around
you a
the
couple
same
of things that
structure?
I could have changed very easily. There certainly wouldn't be cancer or malaria or earthquakes, tsunamis. Those things wouldn't exist if I were in charge.
Did they
So,
exist
why
in
do
the
you
beginning?
suppose things like cancer, things like earthquakes, things like malaria are
Did they
there
exist in the beginning?
circulating? Why would God create those things?
So I don't have an answer to everything, but there's several things that he points to in the Bible on different punishments, things that are passed down. But were those things around in the beginning of creation?
Depends on who you ask. According to the Bible, no. According to reality, yeah. Dinosaurs had cancer millions of years before human beings existed. But whether or not God did it at first or if he did it eventually is irrelevant. He still did it.
Mhm.
So was God required to create the ability to get cancer after the fall?
So I don't sit on his council. I didn't code anything with him per se. But I just personally find that silly. That's one of the arguments that, well, he could have done it this way, he could have done it that way, and there's a lot of
Well,
what ifs that you
that
could pull
wasn't an
from it.
argument.
What's I guess a point of view.
It was an answer to your question. We haven't given you an argument yet.
Oh, I don't need you to say it. I've heard y'all say it, and y'all just spoke to it.
Well, it sounds like you're confused about what's going on here. What we're trying
Mhm.
to do is get to an actual argument. It sounds like you don't have one.
So my argument is, how would you have created the earth? You wouldn't have had cancer. Everything
Oh,
would have
Well,
been fixed. What
I
about
mean, a
greed?
question
What
isn't
about
an argument. I mean, here's
lust?
my
What about
argument.
envy? What about
How's your day
pride? How do you
today?
how do you get rid of all of that?
well, I wouldn't
I
ask you because it sounds like you haven't figured that out either. But that's
Well,
not an
God already told
argument.
us
That's a
how. God already
question.
told.
Ian, I think you were going to give an answer before he started talking over you. What was it?
Oh, well, I was just gonna show the absurdity of this. Like, I have an argument, how was your day today? Asking a question like, how would you design the earth? That's not really an argument. I mean, if you want an argument, here's an argument. The conditions of the earth are unexpected given the hypothesis of a good loving God. A good loving God would not allow something like cancer to continue existing. In the same way, a good loving doctor with the cure for cancer would indeed cure cancer.
He's probably still yapping.
Why was my microphone turned off? I'm not sure how that happened.
Must have been an accident. I blame God.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you want
That
someone to
start?
blame God.
That's what y'all do. So, back to my point, God actually gave us the cure to grieve, envy, lust.
No, he certainly
All
didn't.
he didn't
No.
deny your flesh. you're not responsible for your first thought, but you are responsible for your second thought and your first action?
That's not how that works. We already had this conversation.
So can y'all prove to me beyond reasonable doubt, without just saying cancer or man, this stinks, smucks with a little knee slap? Can you actually give me something beyond reasonable doubt? Because y'all do this all day,
Do
every
you
day.
think do you think that if you had the power to make all cancer disappear, that doing so would be the right thing to do?
Would it be nice? And is that a very
That's not the
shallow,
question
off
I
the top
asked.
question? Yeah, it's
That's
silly.
not the question I asked.
Ian, it's silly.
What's
Yes,
Did you
silly-
notice how you had to change my question? That my question was
Well, your
one
question's
that
silly.
shreds your worldview and you can't answer it, which is why you
If
needed
you
to
could
change
make
it instead of
everybody in the
answering
world
it.
rich
The
automatically,
question
would
was,
if you could
if
make
you had the
everybody
power
rich,
to
would
make
you?
all cancer disappear, would doing so be the right thing to do? And then you rephrased it as, oh, would it be the nice thing to do? I didn't ask if it would be the nice thing to do. I asked if it would be
I
the
see
right
what you're
thing to
getting
do.
at, though,
I
Ian.
asked you
You've
a
used
yes
the
or no
same
question.
conversation for 4
Is the answer
years.
yes or no?
No, I wouldn't. That's not my right.
Oh,
That's not my
that's
job to
crazy.
do that. Yeah, it's crazy. Would you give everybody in the world $1 billion if you could?
Do you think we should?
No, that would probably collapse the economy.
Oh, you would do it. Well, why? It would help families. They could buy what they want. There's no more
Probably wouldn't
poverty.
help
This, that, and the
families to
other.
give everyone $1
It's
billion.
silly
We would
questions,
probably
isn't it?
collapse the
Yeah.
economy.
Yeah, it wouldn't
Yeah, so
help
it's a
them. It
silly
would collapse the
question, right?
economy. That
Well,
they're different things.
Chemo companies would go out of business. People would lose their jobs.
Do
so
you
on and
think
so
that we
forth.
should be like
Ooh,
curing kids
silly.
with cancer?
I don't know. That's another silly question.
Do you think
It's a
St.
not
personal
Jude
sure.
is doing a good thing or a bad thing?
Of course, it's a good thing to help kids. but
What's
it's gonna
good
hurt
about
people's
it?
Pocketbooks. It's
What's
gonna
good
hurt
about
people's
it?
Pocketbooks, right?
What's good
Hurt the
about it?
economy. Helping kids.
What's good about what St. Jude is doing?
They provide research. They have developments on things. They try to make progress on support for children. I mean,
Right, but
what
why
do
is
you
that
mean?
good?
Because anything that points to a good is usually good.
What? No, how do you know it's good? How do you know it's pointing towards something good?
Because it's morally correct, looking out for someone.
Okay, so doing what's best for them, helping them to do what? How do we know that it's best for them to defeat the cancer?
We don't, but that's what humans have decided.
Gotcha. Okay, so human beings have decided that it's good to help people not be sick, correct?
I didn't say that. I said St. Jude and what they do is good.
You
I
said
didn't say-
humans. We'll try this again. Is it a good thing to help people to get better when they're sick? Yes or no?
It's a good thing to care for others, yes.
Gotcha. So then it is good to help people. Could God do that? Could God make it so human beings
So we're
didn't?
moving away from a large picture to a small picture.
So we're
That's
not.
fine.
So try to pay
We
attention.
are.
Try to pay attention.
here.
My question was, does God have the ability to get rid of the cancer? The thing that you said was good to do. Does he have that ability? I'll never understand why Christians get up here and behave this way and think that they're doing the Lord's work. Unmute yourself, guest. It's too early to be shouting over top of you.
Yeah, it's too early to deal with silly questions too.
Yeah.
Can
Is the
you-
problem of evil a silly
you give me
question?
beyond reasonable doubt?
Yeah,
that
shout
doesn't
louder.
exist?
Yeah.
We're currently doing it, right? Your beliefs have committed you to the position that you don't know if curing cancer is good. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's
You're
also true
crazy.
that
What
the
about-
Trinity
what
is.
about greed,
Oh, I'm
lust,
rubber and you're glue. Oh
stealing,
God. Do you think
killing?
that the Trinity
What
is?
about all those things?
Do you think that the Trinity is coherent?
Listen, are y'all going to give me beyond reasonable doubt, or y'all just going to mumble
We're
jumble?
currently doing that. Are you going to
No,
keep
you're
on
not.
dodging the
You're
It's
talking
okay if
about
it's over your
cancer.
head.
You're
Clearly,
talking
it's
about a
over your head.
disease.
It's okay. God didn't imbue you with the intelligence for this conversation, apparently.
Yeah.
Hey, dust my
If God
hands and
designed
walk
you, wouldn't
away.
we expect him to give you tracking abilities?
I don't think so.
Tracking abilities?
Yeah, just the ability to track the conversation.
Yeah, I have. I'm tracking that y'all are.
Then how
Y'all-
come you
y'all
can't
aren't.
engage with it?
I am. Y'all are just aren't smart.
Okay. Do you think the
Hmm.
Trinity is logically coherent? Yes or no?
people. Yes.
Gotcha. Can you be 100% of something and then also not possess 100% of its qualities?
Are we talking about what we know on Earth?
No, we're talking about logic. Can I be 100%
I'm talking about
cucumber?
Earth, simpleton. I'm talking about Earth, simpleton.
We're talking about universals.
Guy's
Yeah,
funny.
a God that created
The
everything
simpleton
can
is
do some
crazy.
things that you're not able
All
to
right, so
comprehend.
here's something, right? This is a pair of kitty cat nail clippers. I use them to clip my kitten's nails. Can I be 100% nail clipper and then be missing the metal part at the end that does the clipping?
No, that's like LGBTQ
Gotcha.
stuff.
So you would only be part of something. So can Jesus be 100% God and then be missing any of the attributes of God the Father?
Well, he's damn sure not a nail clipper. So
I didn't
yeah,
ask you about. I didn't ask you if he was. Okay, so that means God, being Jesus, would have to have 100% of God's qualities. So is Jesus omniscient?
He's talking about his soul, not his foot, right? Or
No,
his
I'm talking
toenail,
about
or
his
or hair
omniscience.
follicle.
Is Jesus omniscient?
Yes.
You're wrong, because he says in the Olivet Discourse that not even he knows the day nor the hour, which means there's things he doesn't know.
As far as what God's going to decide to do, that's correct.
No, Jesus is God, which means he would know it.
That's different.
So it's not different. If you have all of God's qualities, that means you possess omniscience, and Jesus doesn't have omniscience.
So because we're built in similarity to God and in his image, we're God.
No, it's not about us. It's about Jesus not being God. Try to follow along. So in order to be God, you need 100% of God's attributes.
Jesus was without
One of those
sin, and he was
attributes
holy.
that's irrelevant and
Are
false.
you without sin, brother?
It's irrelevant and false. So try to track. I know that this is getting really tough for you, but in fact, let me get the notepad open just to, because this guy is not going to be able to follow at all, and he definitely hasn't read his Bible. The Bible says not to talk like that, but so we'll do premise number 1. Actually, let me make the text
It's
bigger.
like the devil when he was
So
quoting the Bible,
so you
and
can
Jesus smacked him down like he was silly.
yeah, it wouldn't be effective if you guys actually read the thing. So we
Bro, it would
say
Big
That would be
Holes
like a
has no
sick
beyond
own if this
reasonable
guy had done
doubt.
anything other than embarrass himself this entire time.
Beyond
Maybe you could
reasonable
frame
doubt,
yourself as
fellas.
Jesus
Beyond
smacking down
reasonable
the
doubt.
devil had you
Beyond
not
reasonable
5
doubt.
minutes ago
Beyond reasonable
committed
doubt.
yourself to the position that you don't know whether or not curing cancer is the right thing to do. Maybe this would be a sick own if you were capable of engaging with Justin's questions or my questions even a little bit. Unfortunately, we don't live in that world.
You have a
So
negative.
calling yourself Jesus, smacking down the devil is just going to be another embarrassment in a series
No, I
of
used an
embarrassments.
analogy saying that what he's doing is equivalent to when Jesus smacked down the devil for using verses that weren't meant to be used in certain situations.
Yeah, that would be a
Gotta
sick
keep
own
up,
if only you were
guys. Y'all do
smacking
this
anything
all
down.
day, every day.
Unfortunately,
Can't
we don't
disprove God.
have that world. What we have is you incapable of actually engaging
Brother,
in the
you do this every
discussion.
day and you can't disprove God.
we're
You
doing
do.
it in front of your
You're
face,
just
and
too
we're
stupid
embarrassing
to
you.
realize that we've done it
How
already.
so?
Insofar as you've committed yourself to an insane position, you literally don't know if it's the
bad.
right thing to do to cure cancer. That's what Christianity does to your brain. It hollows it out and removes your
You
sense
wanted
of
to leave
morals.
people
You're
in
not
poverty
sure
because it
whether
would
or not
crash the
curing
market.
cancer is the right thing to do.
Leave
That's
people in poverty
crazy.
because it crashes the market. I'm Ian. I'm a retard. Yeah, that's what she
Oh,
sounds
there
like.
we go. There we get the ableist language.
Yeah.
Do you think
You'll know
calling
them by their
people
fruits.
Yeah. Do you think calling people the R word is Christian?
I don't know. What's the definition of an R word?
What do you
Well,
think?
it's just a pejorative.
Exactly. Guys, y'all gotta give me something
Colossians
better than cancer. Give me something better than
Colossians 3:8 says, "Remove such things: anger, wrath, malice, slander, and abusive language from your mouth." Colossians 3:12, "God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience." Do you think you're doing that right now? Do you think you're displaying
who said
those
I'm without
fruits?
sin?
Do you think you're I didn't say you were. Do you think you're
said, okay, so
I asked you a question. I know it's difficult. So answer the question. Do you think you're
I'm without sin?
Do you think you're displaying those qualities right now?
Yeah.
Who said
Look at the
I'm without sin?
Christian. He's
The answer is
engaging
no.
in sin in order to spread his religion.
Yeah, the answer is
You know,
no.
if this guy doesn't believe in any of what he teaches,
What a joke.
I mean, why would anybody else?
What a-
You know, how do you think that you're going to win a single soul
Joke.
for Christ when you don't even follow the
Joke.
teachings of Christ? You know, we would expect Christians to be good moral people. You would expect them to reflect Jesus's qualities, but instead here you are, a scumbag. Now that's exactly what we would expect if Christianity doesn't have good moral teachings, if it doesn't produce good moral individuals. If it was just a man-made religion, that's exactly what we would expect to see. But we would expect, if it was the word of God, for you to have good moral character, and clearly you don't.
Clear or not. Now, the argument was actually really easy, which is premise number one: to be 100% of something, you have to have 100% of its properties. Premise two: God's properties includes omniscience. Premise three: Jesus is not omniscient. Conclusion: Jesus is not 100% God, which means the Trinity is false on arrival. And that's it. You don't get to respond to that because you're a childish piece of POS. There we go. Well, I don't know about you, but he was very convincing. I almost became a Christian in mid-conversation.
Sure, he won a lot of souls for Christ. Anyone thinking about converting to Christianity, this is what you have to look forward to. These are the people that you're going to be surrounded by.
Yeah, that is the case. That is the case. And make sure, this is also, I guarantee it, I would bet money on it. This is the identical same guy that you've seen in every church that walks up to teenage girls and says, "Oh, where's my hug today?" That motherfucker is the same guy right there.
What a niche Gen Z reference, Justin. Who did you hear that from?
No, that's a real thing that happens in the church if you spend a whole lot of time there. All right, let's cover some super chats. We'll get our next guest in here. Maybe we'll get an adult next time. Helping make a deconstruct says rock hard for Doug, simply wet for Sharon, gay for Ian, horrors rule, and fuck mega. Big W on all accounts. Thank you for that, friend. And Legend of Matt, thank you for the super chat. Says, I was up all night after falling asleep at 5 p.m. 5 p.m. That's really, it's not even dark yet. Great time, and finally get out of bed and get the day started. Happy cooking, gentlemen. Well, thank you, Legend. I appreciate that. And I hope you're well rested after a tight 15 hours. That's impressive. TMFJ, thank you for the super thanks. Big W. And Adele, great to see you this morning. I really appreciate the super chat. It says, mesmerize. Another silly question. Should we cure cancer in children? Absolutely disgusting. I know. Isn't it crazy that in order to have his belief system, you have to not know if, in fact, curing cancer is a good thing? It's pretty crazy. Kane, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, Justin is the cutest cucumber. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And Dylan says, this guest is joining the atheists in super hell. That is the case. If you're Jesus and you're playing goalie, you're not letting this clown through. That's not going to happen. And I am the big cheese says we shouldn't grant Christianity credit for science. We shouldn't. Well, to be fair, I usually don't, but I didn't want to get bogged down in that stupid argument about whether or not was it Lemaitre or whoever, I don't forget, some Christian guy invented the so-called scientific process, which isn't true.
Francis Bacon, I think.
Francis Bacon. Yeah, like who was the guy that came up with the Big Bang that was a Christian?
Yeah, I think I think you're thinking of the right person, yeah.
Yeah. But the reality is, I mean, it's stupid because people were doing, it was Lemaitre. People were doing science way back in the period of the Greeks already. They just didn't call it the scientific process. Like, that's ridiculous. Okay. Well, we'll get our next guest in here. I think David was in the guest box or the guest queue next, so we'll grab David. Welcome in, David.
I wanted to say something that Ian said something before the first guest that kind of stuck with me.
Let's pause for a moment. David, are you at least 18 and do you believe in God?
I am, yes, over the age of 18, and I am a recently converted atheist.
Okay, well, thanks for being here and watching. We really appreciate that, but we're just looking for debates.
Yeah, if there's something you want to say to me, you can join my Discord. It's discord.gg/allegedlyian. Feel free to say something there, but it's super cool to hear that you recently converted to atheism.
Hell yeah. Let's get Sapien up in here next. Welcome in, Sapien. Are you at least 18 and do you believe in God?
Yeah, I'm 18 and I believe in God. I mean, I'm not 18, but I'm over 18.
Gotcha. And which God do you believe in?
I believe in the Christian God.
Gotcha. And what do you think is the best evidence or argument for the Christian God being real?
Well, for the Christian God specifically,
Well, I would say preferably. Like, if you want to give an argument for a generic God, we'll accept it. But I think both of us would be much more interested if somehow it tied into your specific God, because if the argument that you give describes a God that contradicts the Christian God, we're just going to point it out anyways, right?
well, I wasn't gonna give an argument for that. My argument was just gonna be for like God in general. Like you could call it whatever you want, but
Fair
I
enough.
think, there's you're pretty much left with no other option but for there to be a God, and
Yeah, what's the
I
argument
think
for that?
I think because you're only left with like two options, let's say, right? Like something has to be eternal, right? When it comes to the origins of the universe, right? Or everything, something has to be eternal. And to me, if we're gonna give something the quality of eternity, then that thing would necessarily be God, whether you want to call it that or
No,
not.
it wouldn't. Because the
Yeah,
God
because
is
something.
something that is a creator of all things, typically, or at least a creator of human beings and life, and has sentience and has like a thinking, a consciousness. But like, if you believe that the universe is eternal, which I personally do, like, I don't think that the universe is sentient, and I don't think that the universe is God. So the definition just doesn't map on.
Mhm.
Well, I would say the reason why I say you're left with limited options, or really you're only left with one, is because the universe itself can't be eternal, because the universe can't create itself, because all the things that make up the universe came into being at the same time, right? Like you
Okay,
can't have
so
time
Dapian,
without space. You
you've
can't have
made
space
you've
without
you've
time.
made two errors. Your first is in your phrasing, which I think was an accident, right? You said it can't be eternal because it can't come into it by itself. But if it's eternal, it doesn't come into being by itself. If I said the
Mhm.
same thing about God, you would point it out. If I said, listen, God can't be eternal because he can't create himself, you would inherently understand the problem with that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Because if you're
But
eternal, you're not created. So we don't believe that the universe came into being at any point in time.
yeah. So the reason why I'll disagree with that again is because we know that space time, matter all exist simultaneously at the same time, came into being. Well, you would probably use a different phrasing, but
Well,
we know that
we agree that they all
observable.
exist.
Yeah, but we know that physics basically explains, like, and I'm just really simplifying all this.
Yeah, you have to dumb it down for us. We're not very bright.
Well, basically, based off of what we observed, we know that there was a singularity at one point, right?
Nope.
Which,
There never was a
Yeah,
singularity.
I don't think that's accepted by
well,
many
the evidence of
physicists anymore.
expansion means that there was at one point an extremely dense state, which would be called the singularity, right?
Nope.
Just
No.
the fact that
So a singularity refers
the
specifically to an infinitely dense thing. It's not just like a very dense thing, but an infinitely dense thing. So we agree that there was a very dense thing. We disagree that there was an infinitely dense thing.
No, we don't disagree with that. I agree with that. I'm saying it's not. It wasn't. I'm saying it's not. I'm saying it wasn't infinitely dense.
What we're saying
Okay.
is there was no singularity. The singularity describes a point where the math breaks down, and that's just as far back as we can go. It's not saying that there was an instance where math no longer math. Just like, so I give this example a lot. My background is in robotics, and we have to do this really funny thing in robotics where you have multiple axes moving through the air, and you have to calculate the position of like a single point as it moves along a straight path. And sometimes to calculate that, you get two axes that in order to calculate the position, one of them has to be at a zero position, and you can't like divide by zero, We call this in robotics a singularity because it's a point in which the math doesn't work to calculate your position, which means you have to move the robot around the singularity position. And it does all kinds of funny things to avoid having to divide by 0. That's what the singularity is at the beginning of the Big Bang. It's just the point at which our math no longer maths. We're not saying, like, science isn't saying that was a state. They're saying this is as far as the math can take us.
Yeah, so so in other words, it's an open ended. Like they're saying, we don't know exactly what was going on in this state, because obviously you can't observe it. Like it's not like you can go and test, what the universe was at this point.
But not
Um,
knowing at a certain state isn't related to the singularity, is what I'm saying. The singularity is just a point where the math no longer helps us.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, like, that's what it goes back to, right? Like regardless if the math like works or not, like that's just what, based off of what we observe and know now, right? Like everything's expanding. That if you go all the way back in time to that point, that's what it was, right? And that's all we know so far, right? It's that
Right.
it was
We don't have the tools to investigate prior to the expansion, right?
Mhm.
We agree there, but why would we posit that any of this is responsible or contingent on a deity?
Because I think, okay, so if that wasn't the origin of the universe, right? Like, so say that wasn't the beginning, right? Then you have to posit something else, which would be like multiple universes, or
Or infinite past.
in infinite past. Again,
Yep.
I don't think space time matter can be infinite.
Why not?
Into the past,
Why not?
because they all exist kind of like codependent of each other. So you can't have
Yeah,
space without time. You can't
it's a-
have time
Well, so
without
if they
space.
were all infinitely in the past, like if they all stretch back infinitely, what's the problem? Like they would all be dependent on each other, and that would be fine because they all exist with each other. They never come into existence; they always existed.
So you're saying space would go back infinitely into the past, and what's the problem with that? Is what you're asking.
Yeah, space, time, and matter just are infinitely back into the past. What would be the issue?
The issue for me is because, like I said, based off of what we know that the space, time, and matter, at least in our universe, right, again, was at a singularity at one point.
Again,
We've
that's
already not
that's not the
granted that.
case.
Okay, so the Big Bang is what to you guys? Like
The Big
what
Bang
is
is the beginning of the expansion. That's all.
the beginning of expansion? Okay, so
It's not when nothing gave rise to something. It's not when all the molecules and atoms in the universe came into existence. It's just the beginning of our current expansion. That's it.
okay, so at the beginning of the expansion, you're saying before the expansion, there was already time, matter, and space.
Yeah. Why in the world would we come to a conclusion that there was no
And
space,
where did it come
time, or
from?
matter? It didn't. It's eternal. It's like asking, where did God come from? Things that are eternal don't come from anywhere.
So
Sapien, you're a nice young man. I just want to point out. I think this might make things easier for you. So you've got two problems, right? Somebody told you two things that are not true, and this is the first time you're hearing them not be true, and you don't know what to do with it yet. Number one, it's not true that science teaches the Big Bang was a point where all things came into existence. That's just not true. Somebody else also told you that it's impossible to have an infinite past. And those are two claims you, for some reason, accepted without thinking about them. And now you're having to think about them in real time. So if it just take a moment, take a deep breath and ask yourself, is there a good reason why I accepted these two propositions prior, and should I continue to accept them in the future?
well, again, I just think it's either God. Basically, my point is, well, it's not either God. Like, it can only be God. I just don't think that the universe or multiple universes exists.
Did we say anything about multiple universes?
Well, again, that's what I said in the beginning. Like, you're only left with a few options. Like,
No.
if
Those were the options you gave us. I don't have I'm agnostic on the multiverse. I don't think you need a multiverse to believe in an infinite past.
well, you would have to though.
No, I
Why?
wouldn't.
You would have to, because if
No,
if that's not the
you wouldn't
case,
have
then
to.
then where would like you know how one of the theories is like what do you call it, like what's the theory called? But basically, how our universe was just collapsing upon itself. Like basically, it collapsed. It's been collapsing upon
The
itself and
Big
then
Bounce, Big
re-expanding.
Crunch.
Yeah, big bounce, big crunch. Like, you know, like quantum fluctuations, something like that is what it's called. And that it's been doing that repeatedly for how long?
Yes.
However.
The cyclical universe model is the one I subscribe to, but you don't have to have a multiverse for that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the same universe, just, contracting upon itself.
That's
Mm-hmm.
Forever and ever.
Forever and
what's
ever,
the
baby.
problem?
In a closed system.
No, we don't know if it's closed or not. That's why I said I'm agnostic to the multiverse. It could be that
Well,
space
that's what I'm
is.
saying. If it's not
it
closed,
could-
if it's not
Pay
closed.
attention, sapient. It could be that space is infinite, but matter is not. Now, it depends on what you think space is.
I think it's impossible for matter to be
I currently
infinite.
don't know what space is. I've had this conversation with Blitz briefly, and he and I we didn't come to a good resolution. I think his understanding of space is way more mature than mine. But my point is, the bounds of our observable universe, nobody knows what's beyond it. We don't know if it's empty space. We don't know if it's filled space. We have no idea what's beyond it because we have no way to know. That's why you kind of have to be agnostic about that.
Well, that's a reasonable answer. I can accept that, but I don't think matter. I don't think it's possible for matter to be like infinite.
Why?
That's my problem.
Why though?
Because I think like, again, you need things for matter to be, like, for matter to exist.
Yeah, what if those things are also infinite?
Then why can't you have one without the other?
I'm not sure what the question is asking.
Like, if everything that makes up the universe is infinite, why can't you have one without the other? Like, why can't you have, matter without space, or space without time? Like, why
Well,
can't you
so
separate
first of all,
these
you
things?
could have some of those without the others, right? Like you could presumably have time and space without matter, correct?
That's my thought.
Possibly, yeah.
Sure. So then clearly we would probably say that matter depends on things like space and by an extension of that time. So what's the problem with that?
Yeah, of course they matter. That's the thing. They're like, you can't. That's the thing, though. Like, in order for you to have matter, you need space, right? So it's like they're inter. That's not the right word, but basically you need them. Like, you need matter. I mean, you need space and time to have matter. Like, you need time.
So
If
what?
if you have space,
Why
you have
would that
time.
mean that matter can't be infinite?
Because that would mean that matter somehow, to me, it would have to be sentient. Like, matter itself would have to be sentient.
How does that follow in any way, shape, or form?
Because if it's not, then it has no control over anything. Like it can't
Of course it
decide
does.
one way or another.
It just interacts with other things through laws of physics. It doesn't need to be sentient. It doesn't make decisions. What it does is follow laws of physics. It evolves in accordance with laws of physics.
Well, I don't get like, I don't get why like matter, right? Like that's just nothing would create matter that is something that matter that is
It was
sentient.
never created. You keep on trying to beg
Created
the question
within
against our
whatever.
view. Like you're asking questions or making statements that just presuppose the falsity of our view. If matter always existed, then it was never created. It was always there.
But again, based off of what we observe, right? Like our universe, if you go back in time, was in a different state where matter
And what
didn't
state?
exist the way it does today.
What state?
I don't know what you want to that dense state, you know. I don't know
There,
like what
what do you think matter is?
energy pretty much.
You think matter is energy?
I think in its simplest form, yes.
No.
Well,
Energy.
I mean, in like a sense, you might be able to understand it that way. Like to be like super charitable to him, maybe you would understand matter in its fundamental state to be energy excitations of specific particle fields.
Yes,
And
in its simplest form is what I'm saying is.
sure. So why couldn't that thing be eternally existing? Like there could always be energy excitations and particle fields that stretch back infinitely in time. There's always some sort of configuration of these various fields.
Because I think in order to have that energy, right, it has to come from somewhere. And that's my thing. Like
Why?
But what
has
if
to
it
come
always
from
existed, then
somewhere.
it never comes into existence? You keep on making the same mistake. Can we just get like a basic acknowledgement of reality that if something always exists, then it never comes into existence?
Well, you can't have energy without like basically
Wait,
without interaction. Like
let's
yeah,
abstract it for just a second from the specific thing we're talking about. Let's just establish a principle. Would you agree that if something always existed, then it never came into existence?
mhm.
Sure. So if on our view these particles always existed, then would you agree that they never came into existence? Like, would you agree that that follows?
If they always existed, yeah, they never came into existence.
Okay, sure. So what's the problem? What would be the problem with time, space, and matter just all always existing?
I just don't think it's possible because of the structure of the known universe, because of what we know today.
Well,
Like what?
like what? Yeah, be specific. Because science doesn't agree with you.
Well, science gives you theories, but again, none of them like really hold up. That's why I said you're only left with a few options. Like either you believe in quantum bounce or multiple universes or God, like, and that's it. Like,
Well, so
and
what would be
honestly,
the problem with like the big bounce, big crunch model, and then that just goes on for infinity?
um, it just leaves you with an open-ended question again. Like
Like
again,
what?
it leaves you with okay, well, why did the particles or whatever the matter that existed in the universe all that time ago begin to
You just did it
They
again.
they didn't begin.
They always existed, and we agreed that if something always
Well,
existed, then they
I'm
never
sorry for
began
saying
to
begin, but
exist.
like what caused the universe to be reacting like before in that time, right? Like we're saying when
There
everything
is
was
no
just bouncing or whatever.
before. It was always doing that.
And it was always just bouncing, no cause, no nothing. It was just in motion without
Well,
anything putting it in
there
motion.
are things that drive this sort of process, but there's no start to the process if it was always happening.
But how's and that's what doesn't make sense to me. Like how like
Gravity.
okay, but it's like
Gravity. You can be completely motionless, and all you need is gravity to start motion. You don't need something to.
but gravity exists
You don't.
because of
You don't.
bodies.
I know, but you can be a body and not be in motion. So what I'm saying is, if you exist in the universe, you're going to be in motion. You can't help but to be in motion because of
Yeah,
gravity.
exactly.
Okay,
That's
so nothing has to start the motion. There's no first start of
but
the
you have to
motion.
be in motion, but motion doesn't have again. How are you having something in motion without something else in the universe putting that thing in motion? Like
I
things
just
don't
told
just move
you things
on
do
their
just
own.
move. Gravity causes it. It's the bending of space-time. If you put two stationary objects in space not moving whatsoever, they will eventually start moving towards each other because of the warping of space-time. That's
Okay,
it. You know,
but you
nothing has
have
to
those
push
two
them.
objects already.
Nothing has to kick it into motion.
But you have those two objects already, and those
I
two objects
I
themselves are
know.
going through
And
motion.
objects have existed forever and they've been in motion forever.
And something, in my opinion, had to cause the motion
Why?
because matter just doesn't move on its own, and energy
I
doesn't.
just told you gravity, the warping of space-time dictates that it has to move. There's no entity that has to start the first domino.
Again, but where does
If
gravity come
any
from? You said you need a
gravity
body, right? to have
gravity is an intrinsic part of space-time. It's just a warping of space-time.
Yep.
So if you have space-time, you have gravity.
Wait. You said gravity is just a warping of space-time? That's
Yeah.
how
That's
you're defining
correct.
gravity?
That's
Can you
literally
explain
just
that?
true. I mean, things in our universe will follow the path of least resistance. What gravity essentially is, you can think of it as when you have things that are warping like space-time as a fabric, there's going to be a point, there's going to be a path of least resistance, like the shortest path. And then things just travel along that path. That's what gravity is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But again, and you're saying was just always moving because of gravity.
Bodies
Because of
must
various
be
laws
moving.
of physics, yeah.
Yeah, like they must be moving, and I'm saying something else had to cause the motion in the first place. I don't think it's just gravity. I don't think
No.
There is no first
things
place. You
moving
once
across.
again are begging the question against our view. You need to stop saying in the first place because there is no in the first place on our view. At that point, you're no longer doing an internal critique of our view.
Yeah, no, I realize that. It's just like I said, to have a path of least resistance, you have to already have things in motion.
No, you
Things were
don't.
always in motion.
Things are always in motion, is what you just said.
Yeah, things were always in motion on our view.
Yeah, and I just don't see how you can say that, right? Like in order for you to have
Because it's required. Because space-time warps. When anything with mass exists within space-time, it's impossible for them to be stationary. It's not physically fucking possible.
so
It's not possible, Sapien. You can't put two large bodies of mass anywhere near each other in space-time and them stay stationary. It'll never happen.
I know that, but you're positing that in this state of the universe that there is just a whole large masses.
Do you
Of
disagree
whatever.
that there's not? Do you think there are no large masses in the universe?
No, of course now. But I'm saying we're saying in eternity past, right? Like in infinity past, you're saying you're positing that there were just
There's always
large
been
amounts of mass.
There's always been mass.
But you don't know that though. You just said you don't know.
Wait, sorry. What we're doing right now is comparing models. You said that you're capable of ruling out all of the possibilities. Can you rule this one out or not? Because if you want to change this to an evidentiary question, I mean, we could compare the evidence that God did it to the evidence that the universe always existed, but I suspect that you don't actually have evidence that God did it.
Well, I don't think there's good evidence that the universe always existed. I think it's an open-ended, which is fine to say, right? Like,
Well, so
then
so
we
on
have
that,
enough
then
information.
Well, at that point, then it's just not evidence that that God exists or that God caused it, which means that we would need to look at different arguments in order to make any progress because this argument failed. It didn't sway things one direction or the other.
Well, the reason I think for me the answer is God is because like I said, if things are in motion, right, and the universe is in motion, I agree with that. Something had to cause the motion, like a first mover per se.
No.
You're once again begging the question against our view. You keep on doing it.
Sorry about that.
We've already
Okay,
explained
wait,
it
was
3
God-
times.
So maybe I can ask this question. Was God eternally willing the universe into existence?
Eternally willing?
Yeah. Like, was God always willing the universe into existence? Or did he start willing it into existence at some point?
I'm not sure what you mean by the question.
Like,
do you mean,
eternally
like-
causing, did God eternally cause the universe into existence? Was he always causing it?
Was he always causing the universe into existence?
Or was he not causing it and then started causing it?
I don't know. I honestly don't even understand the question. Like, I don't know what you mean by.
Okay, so if God was always causing the universe into existence, then that would just mean that the universe always existed, which means that he never caused it into existence. The alternative is that he wasn't causing the universe into existence and then he began to, which means that he would change.
Well, when the Bible says that God can't change, it's meaning more about his character, not the things he does, right? Because God,
Yeah.
obviously, if God is God, he can physically change like what he looks like, or like he can enter humanity and stuff like that. Like those are changes, right? But his
Mhm.
character is not going to change.
But then that's a big problem because at that point, God couldn't be outside of time. Time is the progression of existence from past to present to future. If God is changing things, if he's going from not creating to creating, if he's changing the action that he's taking, well, that would require time to exist.
Well, maybe. Well, I wouldn't say time for God would be the same as us. Like as
But
time
you
is
do
for
think
us.
that there's like an infinite time that God existed in, correct?
No, I would just say that God just is eternal. Like I don't think time is like a thing for him. I don't think it's
Is
a
he
thing
timeless?
for God. Yeah, I would say he's timeless.
Sure. So then there's no before and after with God.
Well, yeah, like if you're God from God's perspective, there's not gonna be a before and after. Everything is just going to like he sees everything at once, right? But for us, it's gonna be a before and after.
But then there's a big problem because there would need to be a before and after in order for God to start creating. He would need the before of not creating and then the after of creating.
Yeah, I think before he was creating, it was just him. I think he was just existing with the Trinity.
So then there was a
Okay.
before and an after. So then God's not timeless.
Well, again, the way we describe time, I wouldn't say God is living in the way we describe time. I say before God created the universe, he just lived eternally, like with himself, like whatever
Yeah, you
you
just
want to
did it
call that.
again.
Like,
You just said before. So then God does have
Before he
befores and
created us.
afters.
before he created
So
us, right?
you agreed
That's the only
that
language
God
we can
being
use when
timeless means that
describing-
there's no before and after for him, and yet you're still affirming that there are befores and afters for him. It needs to be one or the other.
No, not for him, but for us, because that's the only language we can use when we're describing when we were here and when we weren't here.
Sorry, I got like super distracted. Can you say that one more time?
So, sorry, my son. So what I was saying was, there's a before and after for us, basically. Like, and the only reason there's a before and after for us because that's the only language we can use when
So
describing.
then you would say that God's act of creating the world is literally indescribable.
No, I wouldn't say it's indescribable.
Okay, so could you describe it without using before and after, because you agree that those words don't apply to God?
Well, no, because that's the only words that we have
Then it
to
is
like.
indescribable.
No, no, it's not, because you can still understand the concept without me, using the exact words that I need to use to describe it.
But you can't do it. I'm asking you, like, please, if there's no before and after with God, then just go ahead and describe his act of creation without reference to a before and an after. Otherwise, God's act of creation is simply indescribable. Like when you say God created, there is nothing in your mind that actually corresponds to.
What do you mean?
So, unless there's like a coherent thought going on in your head when you say God created, that is a thought that does not have before and after, well, then that means that when you say God created, that doesn't actually refer to anything. You're not actually saying anything.
But when I say God created, and meaning he created the universe, that's just me saying that God called the universe like to be a thing, right? Like he
Hmm.
brought everything into existence that we
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Now,
And was he always causing the universe into existence? Like, was there ever a state of God where he was not causing the universe into existence?
I think. See, yeah, I just don't think that question makes sense. I don't think that question makes sense, honestly.
Okay. I think it does.
Yeah, me too.
I don't, because again, you're trying to use language that like you just can't apply. Like it just you just can't apply it to
So,
God. Like
no,
the way
you
I'm
can,
using it.
because if God is timeless, then it means one of two things. It means he never did anything, or it means everything he's ever done has always been happening. Those are the
Exactly.
only two options.
God being timeless doesn't mean that he never did anything. That you can't
Okay,
posit
so
that.
that means you're tied to agreeing with Ian's question, which is God
Yeah.
must have been eternally willing the universe into existence. Means all he's ever done, he's always been doing forever.
Yeah. Anything else would
No,
require like
not necessarily.
progression.
Not necessarily. I mean, like again, before God created, right? From my point of view,
There's
before
no
God created,
before. If you're timeless, there is no before.
there is though. We're only using before
There's
to
not.
describe the event, of him
Events
creating.
happen in time. God's not in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but God could call it something else. It doesn't have to be called time.
You
Like,
can call it whatever you want. Events happen in a progression, and God doesn't have progressions.
what do you mean God doesn't have progressions?
Progressions
goes
is
from
when one event precedes the other. You need time for a procession of events. God's outside of time, therefore he has no progression of events.
Just because he can exist outside of time doesn't mean he can't interact.
Yeah,
in time.
there you go. You finally figured out the other pretzel you want to bend yourself into. In order for this to make sense to you, you have to think that God exists outside of time, but then every time, pun intended, he wants to do something, he has to then step into time. It's preposterous.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say he needs. So I would just say that's
No,
just
he
what it is.
definitionally he's required to.
Well, if he wants to interact with us with things that are in time, yeah, because he created this for us. You know what I'm saying?
But the problem is that a timeless being entering into time, it's exactly the dichotomy that Justin is presenting. Either he was timelessly entering into time, like that's all he was always ever doing, or he never does it. So he would need to always be entering into time in order for him to do that as a timeless being. He can't be not entering into time and then begin entering into time as a timeless being, because that would require progression, and progression of existence requires time.
Why does he always have to be entering into time eternally in order to
So
enter time?
time is the progression of existence from past to present to future. If you have befores and afters in terms of the state of existence of a thing, then that's going to require time. You can always ask, when did this happen? If there's progressions of existence which are going to require a temporal answer, a when answer, a tensed answer. So either God was eternally doing it, God is just timelessly always doing it, in which case it would just always be happening. The alternative is that he never does it. The only other thing would be that he was one way at one point in the progression of existence, and then he progressed to a new way, and that would, of course, require time. You know, if God goes from not creating and then he progresses to creating, well, that's a progression of existence, which means that it happens in time.
I wouldn't say it has to happen in time. Like, I just don't think we have a word for the state that God was in before he created the universe, which is
So
fine.
indescribable.
No, just not. Like, it's
We don't have a
like to
word for
me,
it, but it is describable.
yeah, like talking about it it's describable. Like we're talking about what we're talking about, right? Like
By all
we're
means, then,
describing
please
it.
describe it.
I just think God exists in a timeless state, and I think that for him going from the universe not being created to the universe being created doesn't change how he lives in whatever you want to call it. Like, it just doesn't change how he exists.
So God is timeless, that is, there's no progression of his existence, right?
No, I wouldn't say that follows.
When you say God is timeless, what does that mean?
Like, just because God is timeless doesn't mean like he doesn't see progression.
But when you say God is timeless, what does that mean?
It means that he's not bound by time. Like,
What does that mean?
to me, it means that he's not affected by time. Like, he's not.
But
He's
what does that
not.
actually reduce to? You're just saying the same thing over and over again. You're saying, like, he's without time, you know, he's not affected by time. That's literally just like taking the word timeless and like rearranging it a little bit. I'm not asking you to rearrange timeless, you know, I don't want to hear God is less of time. You know, that's I get that. I'm asking, like, what does that actually reduce to? Like, what are
What
the
does God?
implications of that?
It means that, to me, it means that he can see past, present, and future.
That's all it means?
Yeah. No. It means more than that.
What does it mean?
Well, to me, again, it just means that you can see all events simultaneously.
Yeah, I got that. That was the first thing you
It
said.
means that you're eternal, that you were not created.
Okay, always, so you always existed.
And I can't really think of anything else right now. But yeah.
Well, that's a big problem because those are compatible with being in time. Imagine a being that is in time, that always existed in time, that just knows everything, so it can see the present, the past, and the future. Well, that would be a being that's in time, but it would fit all of your criteria for being timeless.
Well, sure, that being could be in time, but that doesn't mean that being is bound by time.
But would that be a timeless being, a being that existed within time, that could see all past, present, and future, and always existed? Would that be a timeless being?
Yeah, I would say so.
The being in time was a timeless being.
Yeah, if that being can operate
Okay.
in outside of what the creation knows as time, then yes, I would still describe
Sure,
that
that's just a
being.
direct contradiction.
How?
The being in time is timeless. It's a contradiction.
Yeah. Yeah,
The
if that
being is
being
both in time and not in time. You're affirming just like
no,
two opposite things.
no, if that being can operate outside of time the way we know it, the way the creation knows it,
It
then that
can't.
being is timeless, right? Like
What does it mean to operate outside of time?
just because he enters our like view of time, like our observable universe, right, doesn't mean that he's bound by it. Doesn't mean that he's all of a sudden,
That still doesn't mean anything to me. I have no idea what that means. You haven't given any explanation as to what it means to be not bound by time.
you just asked me what it means.
Clearly, what you said was compatible with a being that's in time. You could have a being in time that just knows everything and always existed, and that being in time would fit your definition of timeless. So it would be a timeless being in time. It's like a squared
Yeah,
circle.
yeah, God can operate in time. That, like, I'm not understanding what you're not understanding. Like, God can operate in time, but that doesn't mean he's
Okay,
bound
if
by
you
time.
don't see the problem with a timeless being in time, if you're going to describe a being in time as being timeless, I just don't really know what else to say to you. It's just affirming like the existence of a squared circle. It's a direct contradiction.
No. Again, just because you're operating in time doesn't mean,
That you're not timeless?
yeah, like,
Yes, it does.
no, it doesn't. Man.
Okay, I think we'll just have to let the audience decide whether or not they think a being that's operating in time can be timeless, whether or not beings in time are timeless. I
Yeah,
guess we'll
because
just have to let the audience decide that one.
because if you can operate outside of time the way the creation knows it, that the way that we're describing it, then you're not, just because you're operating in it doesn't mean that you like that you're stuck in that you are that thing. Like, God isn't
Okay.
stuck.
Well, I've already,
in
I've already pointed out the contradiction. I have nothing else to say.
What was the contradiction?
Yeah, a being in time is timeless.
Yeah, so when God enters creation, right, like as Jesus Christ, he's operating
Oh
in time.
no, don't do that. You don't want to go to the Trinity, my friend. I mean, I would love to talk about the Trinity, but I don't think that's not going to turn out the way you hope it is.
Why not?
Well, I'll try to make it simple. Premise number 1, to be 100% of anything, you have to have 100% of its properties.
To be 100% of anything, you have to have 100% of its properties.
Yeah, you agree or no?
No, I wouldn't agree with that.
Okay, so I can be 100% tape measure and then lack the actual tape.
No, before I can give you a better example. You can be 100% blue, right? But that
Oh.
doesn't mean you're 100% of all the shades of blue that there are.
I didn't ask about all the shades or varieties. I'm talking about the essential qualities. So to be a shade of blue,
you
you,
can be
you
100% of
to
blue, but
be
there's gonna
a
be
sh- to be a shade of blue, to be 100% blue, it just requires that you're within the wavelength that we use for blue. That's all.
well, yeah.
So
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You can be
things
100% of the shade of
things
blue,
have
but you're not
essential
gonna be all
attributes and non-essential attributes. Like a non-essential attribute of this tape measure is the magnet on the back of it. That's a non-essential attribute. I'm talking about essential attributes. So in order to be 100% tape measure, you need 100% of the essential attributes of a tape measure. Agree or disagree?
Okay, so you changed it a little bit. So now you need 100% of the
Well, I made it
of
more
the
obvious. I think everyone knew what I meant.
Well, I think it's not because again, you can be 100% blue, but you're not going to be
I'm not asking about
100.
blue. I'm asking about objects.
Okay, well, you can be mm,
Can you be 100% rock and then lack the necessary qualities that make a rock a rock?
I don't know, because technically we are rocks,
Oh
right?
boy. Well, this is
But
not
we don't, but
this
we
is
don't have
not where
100%.
your worldview should be reduced to. This is pretty wild.
That's
mean,
like a
I
super
mean,
easy question, right? Like, presumably,
I'm
if
gonna,
you're a rock, then you have the essential rock features.
yeah, but we have rock features, right? Like we have minerals in us, but we're not rocks.
We're not 100% rock.
Yeah, you nailed it. We're not 100% rock. So we'll try this again. I think you're fighting because you know where this is going to lead. Premise
But is
number
a rock
one,
like 100% rock, or does a rock have like other
it
things in
is,
it
yeah,
that other things
because the
aren't?
word rock is got a semantic range. So we'll just make this easier. We'll say to be 100% of a god. Oops, there we go. You have to have 100% of God's
Necessary qualities.
essential properties. All right, now list some essential properties of God. List some properties that if God didn't have them, it wouldn't be God.
If God didn't have him, wouldn't be God.
Think
Eternity.
omniscience.
Eternal. God needs to be eternal. If he's not eternal, then he's not God.
Anything else?
Um,
Because but by the definition you've given, the earth is, or the universe is God. So you got to have more attributes than that.
well, no, I would disagree. I don't think the universe is eternal, but
Is God omniscient? Is he omnipotent?
I
Is he
don't like using.
omnipresent?
No, I don't like using the omnis to refer to God. 'Cause
Does God have omniscience? Yes or no?
is
Does
he
he know?
all knowing?
Does he know everything? Is there anything he doesn't know?
Yeah, I would say he's all knowing. Yeah.
There we go. Very good. So then premise number 2 is God must be all-knowing. We agree?
Yes.
Okay, so premise number 3, we would write down Jesus is not all-knowing. Yes or no?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Okay, so then the Bible lied in Matthew 24:36 when Jesus says about the day or the hour no one knows, neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, but only the Father.
No, I wouldn't say. I just have a different understanding of that passage.
What's it mean? What's it mean when he says that he doesn't know something?
I think me personally, and you can disagree. Well, obviously you're gonna disagree, but I think Jesus was just saying that it wasn't his place to tell of the hour. Like it's not.
Interesting. Why didn't he say that then? 'Cause what
I
he
don't know.
said was about the day and the hour no one knows, neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. Why would he say that when he could have just said, I can't tell you, or I won't tell you?
I don't know. Why did he make parables about camels and stuff like that? I
Well,
don't know.
that doesn't answer the question.
Well, you're asking me to speak for God, and why didn't he
No,
do something?
I'm not asking you to speak for God. I'm asking you to be honest. So right
Yeah,
now,
okay, I
like
don't know.
you're
I
up
know what he's
here
saying.
and you're drowning in like a pool of cognitive dissonance rather than just being honest. Everyone who's read this verse knows exactly what's happening right
Sure,
here.
cognitive dissonance. I said, I don't
Jesus
know.
is saying that no one knows the date of his return. That's not in question. This is not a metaphor for something more spiritual. They're asking him, when are you coming back? And he says, nobody knows, not even I, only the Father. This is not hard.
I didn't say it was something from our spiritual. I said he could have just been saying that.
What's it mean? That's the adorable thing about like metaphors is you can't just claim it's a metaphor and then not know what it's a metaphor for. You still have to know. Or positing that it's a metaphor is silly. So what's it mean?
For as the days of okay, so you see right there where it says for as the days of Noah, where so will be the coming of the Son of Man.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is Jesus reference. He's referencing. I think he's referencing Noah's because
But
just
he
like
said
how
Noah. We know he's referencing Noah. The words left his mouth. We know.
yeah. So
He's saying,
he's
just like
referencing
in the
Noah.
days of Noah, when the flood came unexpectedly, so will the Son of Man come unexpectedly. And he says that he doesn't know when that's going to happen. The reference to Noah reinforces the fact that it's going to catch everyone by surprise.
Yeah, and I think he's saying that like that as like that's the reason why he's not telling them the day or hour because it's supposed to be this way.
Oh no,
Because
he didn't. He didn't say any of that. You made that part up. You
Well, no,
want
I'm saying the
you
reason
want the
why- the
Bible to say
reason-
that, even though that's not what it says.
no, I just think
It
that's the
says
reason why he's
it
referencing
says
Noah.
it says that no one would know the day nor the hour, and he likens it to the days of Noah. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day Noah entered the ark, and they knew nothing until the flood came and swept them all away. Which is an exact example of Jesus saying he doesn't know. Nobody knows. They're going to be caught unaware, just like the days of Noah.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why he's saying, they don't know. He's also, I feel like he's just telling them, yeah, like I'm not telling you. Like,
No, he didn't say
I'm
that.
not
He
supposed to
said
tell
nobody knows. He said nobody knows, not even himself. Why do they hate the Bible so much? I'll never understand why they hate the words of Jesus.
we don't, bro.
Then
I know
why
who
don't?
does.
Then why do you have to look at Jesus' words and say that he said something else?
Because a lot of times you have to do that because that's what.
No,
he's
you
doing. He's
don't.
saying-
No.
Yeah. a lot of the times Jesus was
Only if you're
speaking,
coping and you don't like Jesus' actual words. His actual
literally.
words is that the day that his return is going to come like a thief in the night, and nobody's going to see it coming. He doesn't know when it is. Only the Father knows.
Yeah, I just think it just wasn't. It just wasn't for him to share. I just think that's what that means.
He couldn't share it because he didn't know it.
I don't think he didn't know it. I think it just wasn't for him to
He
share. Or
said that he
maybe-
didn't know it.
Yeah, no, I don't think he didn't know. He actually didn't know it.
He said he didn't know it.
There's also other
About the
examples
day
of-
nor the hour, neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, but only the Father knows. Is he the Son? Okay. What does it say about the Son? Does it say that the Son knows or doesn't know?
It says, but that day and hour, no one knows.
Okay. Not even who? Not even the Son?
Neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, but only the Father.
Yeah, so which one of these individuals knows?
The Father, but he's also one with the Father, so obviously he would know.
Well, that's not what that means. Being one with the Father just means you're in agreement. In John 17, it also says that the disciples are going to be one with Jesus as he is with the Father, which means nothing to do with them being God. So before you get distracted on another bad thing that you have no idea what you're talking about, let's try to actually focus on the passage at hand.
I think I know what I'm talking
So
about. That's
you
one
definitely
meaning- that's
don't
one
know what
meaning
you're
of-
talking about,
that's
which
one
is why
meaning of being a
which is
son. That's
which
not
is
the
why
only meaning.
which is why like everyone here is like getting secondhand embarrassment.
But that's not
So,
the only meaning.
In verse
You know that,
36, I do.
Wait,
and you're,
wait. Can you-
I do, and you're
Okay,
wrong.
wait,
And if
wait,
you
wait.
pay attention long enough, we can actually get through this and get on to the next
But that's
one.
not the only meaning, though. I just want you to know
Yes,
that.
it is.
Obviously.
You,
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. And you should
Yes,
know
it
that.
is. I do
God,
know
no, I
that,
just
which
know
is
that.
why you're wrong. So
I'm not wrong.
try to
I
focus
just
up.
told you,
Try to
that's one
focus.
meaning of the
Try to
sun.
focus up, and we'll actually get to the conclusion. Okay.
I know why
Verse
you're trying to skip over
verse
that though. Like
verse
you
I
know,
didn't
there's
skip
one
over
more.
I didn't skip over anything. So verse 36. Who knows when the return is, according to verse 36?
Hold on, give me a second. Okay, so who knows according to verse 7 is the Father? But hold on, give me a second. I need to look at something.
Do the angels in heaven know?
Nope.
Does the Son know?
Nope.
Does anybody on earth know? Does anybody on earth know?
No.
Does the Father know?
Yes.
Awesome. Is Jesus the Son or the Father?
Jesus is the Son.
Okay. Does the Son know, according to the passage?
No, not according to this passage.
Gotcha.
No.
According to the passage, then, there's things that Jesus doesn't know, which means he lacks omniscience.
Yeah, give me a second.
You don't need a second to be honest. You can just be honest. It takes maybe 5 milliseconds.
Yeah, so there's explanations for this, but I don't really want to get into it because you just kind of
You
disagree.
know, I
anyway.
wouldn't want to get into it either.
Yeah, I really don't want to get into it. It's just gonna be a, you know.
If I were in your position, right, can't blame you. You know, it seems like
I mean,
they would
like you
all
have
be
to know
like
about.
turbo cope.
No, not even cope. Like you just have to know theology. Like that's just it. But
Oh, what's your credentials in theology?
my credentials, I've studied
Yeah.
for a
Oh, yeah.
while. So
What do you study?
the Bible.
You read the Bible a bunch? Did you go to school?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What's your degree in?
What's my degree in?
Yeah.
No, not college. Like I didn't go to
Gotcha.
college.
So you don't have any credentials in theology then? You just read the book a bunch.
I read the book and read other books and stuff like that.
Name
you
the
know,
first
so-
5 books of the Bible.
Name the first 5 books of the Bible. Okay, Genesis, Exodus. Yeah, that's all I got for now.
Real scholar. Okay.
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. I haven't even
Right.
studied the Bible in any great depth.
It's good you can do that. You should actually read it more and not just criticize it.
I've read the Bible, not as
You should read
deeply
it
as
to
Justin's read it, but
You
I've
should
read
read
it.
it to understand it instead of
Sapien,
critiquing it.
we have read it and we do understand it, which is why we don't believe it.
I don't think so, because I think if you
I
read
do
it to
think
understand
so.
it, then you would understand.
I
You
do
would
understand
the
it.
theological points that people make.
I
Like you can't just
I
take the
do
Bible
understand the
at face
theological
value.
points. I disagree with them. You haven't made a theological point yet. Your only claim is words don't mean words. That's not a theological point. That's a cope.
No, I have a theological point. I just know guys like you don't usually like them because they
It's
think
not a
because they
theological
think
point. You didn't
they
mention
think you're
one.
adding into the text. Like every time, like
You didn't
you
mention a
bring up
single
theology,
name
right?
name the theological principle you're referring to.
But the reason why I don't is
Name
because
name
if
the
you say
name the
everyone says
hermeneutic. Give me the
you're adding
hermeneutic
into the
give me the
text.
hermeneutic that you're pointing to that I disagree with.
Well, concerning the verse that we're talking about right now, it's just I just don't feel like getting into it. It's just gonna be,
Gotcha, because you're making stuff up. You're being dishonest. So
No, I swear I'm
just to
not
be
making
clear,
it up. It's
Sapien,
just
Ian's
I've
read the
debated
Bible.
before.
I've read the Bible. I have 2 actual degrees in biblical studies. You have none,
Yeah,
which
that doesn't
means
mean anything.
it certainly does. It means that I actually
No, not
know
at
the
all.
contents of the book and I understand the historical background. I understand the context of the book and I understand all the theological points that you've never heard of. I actually took hermeneutics. So the reality is for you to get up here.
Understood all the theology.
So the reality is for you to get up here and start parading around like you've got special theological knowledge because you're a Christian and we're atheists is cope. most Christians, I'm sorry,
I never said that.
most
I never
atheists,
said that.
most atheists that engage in this type of dialogue have already read the Bible, which is why we don't believe it. We're not just some clowns that got up here and decided one day we didn't like God at all. It's not remotely the case.
That's absolutely what happened, actually.
We not even close. We actually read the literature and we just don't agree with it. It's just not true. And you haven't read the literature yet. You haven't read the literature yet, which is why you're getting dog walked on the literature, and we literally just touched it. Didn't even get into it. So, all right, Sapien, do you have anything else to add to the conversation?
You could say I got dog walk. I didn't even give you the theological points of the verse.
Then give it to me.
But
give it to me.
Here's why I say, like, you reading the Bible, right?
Give it to me.
You having a degree.
Give me the theological point, Sapien.
Yeah, what are the theological points? Let's hear it.
Okay, but I just want to say, like, you having
give it to me.
Theological points in his other pants.
I don't care. I don't care about the meta. Give me the theology.
The dog ate the theological points.
Like you can read a science book and not understand anything.
Yeah, and you can not read it, and you'll definitely not understand it. You haven't even read it. You're not even on step number 1 yet.
I've read it though.
You couldn't even name the first 5 books. You haven't read it.
If you understand theological points
who succeeded? Who succeeded? I didn't hear it. By who? By philosophy?
Yeah. Why did the entire field of philosophy destroy you, Justin? If you
no.
So well.
No, I'm talking about the guy. His name is Dr. Philosophy. What's his name?
There's no such thing as Dr. Philosophy.
Even I know who you're talking about.
Oh, I have no idea.
I think he's probably trying to say inspiring philosophy.
You mean IP?
Yeah, inspiring philosophy. Yeah, he cooked.
Name 1 point. Name 1 point.
Oh, just pull up the video.
I was there, Sapien. Name 1 point.
Yeah, so pull it up.
Name 1 point. Name 1 point. They always go to this. I was there. I don't need to rewatch it. Name 1 point.
Talking about slavery and stuff, and
what did he cook me on? Name the point.
I would have to go back. It's been a while.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's cooked me so good I can't remember.
Yeah, typically if there's like a point that somebody gets cooked on, you can literally just rehash the point. You know, if it cooks them back then it'll probably still cook them. So, I mean, this would be like a perfect opportunity to dunk on Justin if in fact there was a dunk. And it kind of seems like there wasn't.
Listen, we both know there was a dunk. If you watch the video,
we both know there's not. And this is you coping because you got so cooked. You're like, oh my God, but what about this? What about this one other guy that I like to think that he said once that I can't remember that he actually said it?
I'm not
what about Dr. Philosophy?
You did get cooked.
What about? No, you're lying like you've been the entire time.
Listen, I'm just saying.
You're easily fooled by people who don't know anything. He didn't cook me, and it's a 2-hour video. We're not replaying the 2-hour video so I can cook you in front of the rest of the audience that we've already done.
He did though.
Then name it.
It's okay.
Name the point. Named it.
Well,
name
wait,
the point
no,
you cooked me on.
It's okay. No. It's okay.
Just name it.
If
name it.
Indeed, Justin got cooked, then you should have no problem identifying where. Just give the point that IP gave
like
that you
said,
thought was really
good. It's a 2-hour video.
Oh, so you don't remember?
Well, it was a 2-hour video, right? That's what you just said.
So you don't remember the point that he cooked me on, then, huh?
I remember. I just told you there was one time.
I'll never not be impressed by Christians' willingness to lie outright in front of like 2,000 people. It's crazy to me.
I just gave you a specific point that you guys were talking about that he cooked you on.
No, he didn't. He didn't cook me on slavery. In fact, I'll rehearse it for me. I'll rehearse it for you. He said that Christians ended slavery, and I gave him the evidence that Christians not only didn't end slavery, they were the ones that enshrined slavery, and the Bible endorses slavery. Which means your ears are broken. You weren't actually listening to the conversation. The reality is Christians didn't end slavery. The church enshrined slavery. Nobody in Christianity ended slavery. The Bible says you can do slavery. There's not a single verse in the Bible at all that says slavery is wrong. There's not a single verse in the Bible that says you shouldn't do it. In fact, God's end time promise.
Yes, there is.
There's not. In fact, there's not. In fact, the Bible specifically says that you can own slaves, and that you can and you'll then find it. Then find it. Find it for me. Find it for me.
Sapien Soul, could you do me a quick favor? Name 3 contemporary theologians.
Oh, he's not going to do that.
Yeah,
Three
just name 3
contemporary
of them.
theologians. Matthew, Mark, and Luke.
Oh, this guy doesn't know what the word contemporary means.
Clearly
There
not.
you go.
That's
There you go.
devastating.
What do you think contemporary
go.
means?
No, I know.
Contemporary means like currently alive, practicing still, like people who are still in the field right this second. Like people who are publishing in the field. Could you name like 3 of them?
Can I name 3 of them?
People who are publishing specifically.
He's a titan of theology. I'm sure he knows a bunch.
Yeah, he has really big, deep theological points. Can't name a single contemporary theologian that's publishing still. Can you name one single contemporary theologian that's publishing? Just one?
Her names are slipping. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Go
bet.
ahead and Google him. We'll wait.
Just like ChatGPT it.
Is Wes Huff an actual
No.
theologian?
Nope. He doesn't have a PhD yet. He's not publishing.
He has a PhD in something.
No, he doesn't.
Nope.
Really?
He's currently attending the theological school in Toronto to earn his
Wait, hold
PhD.
up,
He doesn't have it yet.
Yeah, no, not in theology, but
You know what question I've got for the guest is, I'm really curious if he thinks that slavery was morally perfect.
I'm also wondering.
what do you mean? Do I think was slavery morally perfect? What does that even mean?
Do you think?
What word are you getting tripped up on there?
Go ahead and run this one, Ian.
Yeah. Do you think slavery, when God gave the laws that said that you could own slaves, you could sell your daughter as a slave, you could beat slaves with rods, is that morally perfect?
I think the restrictions that he gave the people at that time were good for the time. Yes.
But was it morally perfect to say you can own slaves? So you do think that the Israelites owning slaves was morally perfect, that was a morally perfect institution that God established and enshrined in law? What do you think is more moral? God saying,
I
thou
think it was
shalt not
necessary at
own
the time.
slaves, or saying, you can own slaves, you can beat them too, you can sell your daughter into slavery. Don't beat them too hard, though. Do you think, which one would you think is more moral?
I think whatever God says is the right thing to do.
So you think that it was more moral to say that you can own slaves than it would have been to say that you can't own slaves?
No, but I think God told them, gave them restrictions instead of just telling them to
Then
not own
God
slaves
didn't do the morally
for a
perfect
specific
thing.
reason.
So then
No,
God could
because-
have taken a more morally perfect action.
No,
So then
no, he
God's
couldn't
not
have,
all good.
because he actually already told them to treat everyone as you treat yourself, right? Like that's the whole
He didn't say that.
point of everything. Point of everything, right? Like
He didn't say that.
He's telling people,
He didn't say that, Sapien.
brother.
Your
What are the
ability
things
to
that-
lie in the Bible is only
What are
like
the 10
one upped by your
commandments?
ability to have not read
What are the
it.
10 Commandments?
None of the things
What
you
are
just
they? Read
mentioned.
them out. Read them out.
You can't even name the first
Read them
one.
out. Read
Name
them
the
out.
first one. Name one of them.
No, listen. Just read them out. I just asked you to do.
Name
something.
one
Read
of
'em out.
them.
Read them out.
Do you think there's in there about loving people in there? Do you think it's in there?
What are the greatest 2 commandments? What did God say?
That's
What did
not
Jesus
part
say
of
the
the.
greatest 2
This guy's
commandments are?
crazy. That's not part of the
This guy hasn't
10.
even read Exodus. Holy shit.
Doesn't even know
That's not one of the
Exodus
10
20.
commandments.
What did Jesus say are the greatest of the commandments?
In Matthew 22, Jesus listed 2 commandments, and neither one of them were among the 10.
Just answer the. Why do you keep dodging the question? Just answer the question. What did he say are the greatest of the commandments?
He said to love
answer that.
God and to love man. And neither one of them are part of the 10 commandments. The first
Okay,
one is
so
a
that-
quotation from Deuteronomy 6:5. The second is a quotation from Leviticus 19:18. Neither one of them part of the 10 commandments. Ten Commandments you'll find in Exodus chapter 20. And what you'll find in the last commandment is a command not to covet your neighbor's slave. So even in the Ten Commandments, slavery is not abolished. And it doesn't say anything in Ten Commandments
It does
about
say
loving
not to covet
everybody.
your neighbor's, it says not to cover your neighbor's
Slave.
property.
Slave.
No, it doesn't say specifically slave.
Yeah, it does. I'll read it to you. I know you haven't read it. Don't worry. We got you on this one. It says, you shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, male or female slave, ox, donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Anything that belongs to your
Is
neighbor.
your first time reading it?
No.
Cool. So was it morally perfect when God said you can own slaves in Leviticus 25?
It was necessary at the time. That's what I'm saying.
Do you think that answers the question? Do you think we asked if it was necessary?
Absolutely.
We didn't. We asked if it's morally perfect.
Yeah, because
is there
if it was
any
necessary, it
possible
doesn't need
more
to
moral
be.
law that could have been given? Is there a more moral law that you can conceive of that God could have
gave
given
all
instead?
God gave all the necessary moral law that he needed to give at the
We're
time
not
he gave
asking
it.
if it's necessary. We're asking if it's morally perfect. Is there a
Well,
more moral
If
set
it's
of laws
morally
that
perfect,
God
that
could have
means it's
gave?
necessary, right? If it's
That
morally
doesn't
perfect,
follow.
it's necessary. Right?
That doesn't follow.
So something
Well,
that's
first of
morally
all, you're
perfect
committing
isn't
a formal
necessary.
fallacy called affirming the consequent, I want to say. Yeah. But second of all, we're just asking if it's a morally perfect law to give.
Yeah, and I don't like the framing of the question. Like you
Okay,
can't just say.
granted. So what's the
You can't-
answer?
You can't just say, was it morally perfect? And that automatically means that what was said wasn't moral or wasn't necessary. Something that's necessary.
He didn't say
doesn't-
that.
Might not be.
He's
might not
asking
be
you for an
perfectly
answer.
moral.
So he
Yeah.
hasn't made a claim yet.
Mhm.
How about you address his question?
Yeah,
Why are you just cutting me off? Like
because you're not answering. You're dodging.
I'm not dodging.
You are. You literally saying, I don't like the question, I'm not going to answer it.
The way you're framing the question is like it's just it doesn't make any sense. It's not actually applicable in this situation.
It
because-
is.
When you say it doesn't make sense, do you mean you don't like it? I'm just
No, it just doesn't
asking
make
if there is
sense.
a more moral set of laws that God could have given. Like if God instead said, thou shalt not own slaves. You were slaves in Egypt and it was bad. That was a wrong thing that was committed to you or committed against you. You will not do that to other people.
Yeah, he
If
did
God
say that.
said
He said you
that
were slaves
instead
in
of
Egypt.
saying, you
That's a
know,
good
you
point you
can
just
own
brought up,
slaves, you
actually.
can beat them with a rod, would that have
That's a
been
good
a
point you
more
brought up.
moral set of commandments?
So when they came, so you realize what you
Yes,
just said,
I
right?
asked you a yes or no question.
What was the yes or no question?
Yeah, would it have been a more moral set of laws if instead of God saying you can own slaves, he said, you shall not own slaves. You were just slaves in Egypt. You will not treat other people in the barbaric way that you were treated. Which one of
He did
those
say
would have
that, though.
been more moral?
He did say that though.
He
No.
didn't.
He did.
He said
Which
that only
verse?
of the Israelites, which is why we know he was capable of saying it for everybody. Verse 39, he says,
no. That doesn't
verse
follow.
30,
That doesn't
verse
follow.
39, he said, if any who are dependent on you become so impoverished that they sell themselves to you, you shall not make them serve as slaves. They shall remain with you as hired or bound laborers. They shall serve you until the year of Jubilee. Then they and their children with them shall go out from your authority. They shall go back to their own family and return to their ancestral property. For they are my servants who I brought out of the land of Egypt. And they shall not be sold as slaves are sold. You shall not rule over them with harshness, but you shall fear your God. As for the male and female slaves who you may have, it is from the nations around you that you may acquire male and female slaves. You may also acquire them from among the aliens residing with you and from their families who are with you, who have been born in your land. They may be your property. You may keep them as a possession for your children after you, for them to inherit as property. These you may treat as slaves. But as for your fellow Israelites, no one shall rule over the other with harshness. So God could have said, treat the foreigners the same way you treat these Hebrew men. Don't make them serve as slaves. But he didn't say that. What he said is you can own them as slaves for life and pass them on to your children. And the conjunction to not treat them harshly only applies to the Hebrews. So God could have said no slavery, couldn't
No,
he?
wait, no. Go back to the part where he's talking about how they were slaves in Egypt.
Verse 42, for they are my servants who I brought out of the land of Egypt. So God is saying slavery is not good. You guys were slaves. You didn't like it. So don't treat each other as slaves, but you can treat the foreigners as slaves. So if slavery was being recognized as being bad, then why would he say you can own the foreigners as slaves? I love the guests crashing out on TikTok saying we're taking it out of context. They have no idea what the context is. They've never read this book. But please, by all means, get in the guest queue. I'd love for you to tell us
I think
how
he's
we
still
missed
saying
it,
you should-
how we missed the slavery context.
I think he's still saying that you shouldn't treat your slaves with harshness.
No, he didn't
Thank you,
say
sir.
that.
Yeah, it says you shall not rule over them with harshness, but
And who is them?
who is them in this context? I'm not sure. I think he's just talking about slaves. Anybody who's a
No,
slave.
he's talking about his Israelites. Verse 42 says, for they are my servants who I brought out of the land of Egypt. Who are the people that God brought out of the land of Egypt, Sapien?
Wait, keep going up.
Who are the people that God brought out of the land of Egypt?
Can you go up further?
I already read it. Answer the question. Who are the people that God brought out of Egypt? I bet Ian knows. Ian, who are the people that God brought out of Egypt?
He brought out the Israelites out of Egypt.
Interesting. So when God talks about a people group that he brings out of Egypt, he must be referring to the Israelites? Yeah, it seems that way.
I don't know of any others that he did.
Yeah, do you want me to read it a second time? Were you not listening the first time? I'll read it a second time. If any who are dependent on you become so impoverished that they sell themselves to you, you shall not make them serve as slaves. They shall remain with you as hired or bound laborers. They shall serve you until the year of Jubilee. Then they and their children shall go out from your authority. They shall go back to their own family and return to their ancestral property, for they are my servants, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt. So this passage right here applies to the Israelites who God brought out of the land of Egypt, which is why he says in verse 46 of the foreigners, he says, you may keep them as a possession for your children after you, for them to inherit as property. These you may treat as slaves, but as for your fellow Israelites, no one shall rule over the other with harshness. So the rule to not rule over your slaves with harshness applies specifically to the Hebrew brethren, not to the foreigners.
Not the foreigners, got it.
So was it morally perfect when God said you can own foreigners as slaves?
Again, I don't like that phrasing of the question.
Could God
was
have given
morally-
a better command? Was he capable of saying don't own them as slaves?
If there was a better command, if there was a better way to deal with the surrounding populations of people,
Why does he have to deal with them?
then I think he would have.
Why does he have to deal with them?
Because at this time, it's a different world. Like,
So
it's
what?
a completely different world than what we know today.
So what?
So people had to be dealt with differently. People like
So God's beholden to the culture. God can't give good commands because, as it turns out, the Israelites understood slavery, and God told them not to make each other slaves. So God's not
okay, but
beholden
did
to anyone's culture.
Did everyone understand slavery though at that time?
Almost everybody. There were cultures that actually didn't have slavery back then, but in the ancient Near East, almost everybody did.
Exactly, nearly everyone.
Which is why God said, "I'm giving you laws to make you distinct from everybody else." If you bother to read Leviticus, he says that I'm giving you these commands to make you holy, so that you're not like the nations that I'm driving out before you. So the part of the law code that God gave is specifically to set them apart from the other cultures, not to make them like the other cultures. If God wanted to give them rules that they can only understand, then he wouldn't have told them to not eat shellfish, not commit adultery, not bear false witness, not to move boundary stones. God is not required to give you laws that you like.
I mean, they didn't like the fact that they were told not to worship other gods.
And they
God
did
told them not to
anyways.
worship other gods, and they did anyway.
There you go. So God didn't give laws based on whether or not he thinks you'll like them or whether or not he thinks you'll follow them. He knows you don't like them, and he knows you won't follow them. So these laws are meant to do what God thinks are morally perfect, which is what he tells you in Deuteronomy 12:28. In Deuteronomy 12:28, what he tells you, in fact, I'll put it on the screen again because I know for a fact you've never read Deuteronomy. Says,
Actually, I
be
have
careful
read
to
Deuteronomy.
obey all these words I've commanded you, so that it might go well with you and with your children after you forever, because you will be doing what is good and right in the sight of the Lord your God. So he says that by following the law, you'll be doing what is good and right, which means these are what we would probably classify as morally perfect laws.
There actually were times where a guy like didn't do something because he knew like they wouldn't be able to do it, or like or they would.
Yeah,
wouldn't
I actually disagree.
There
That's
were times- there were
Jesus's
times he
reading
did do
in
that.
Matthew 19 of the marriage laws, and I think he's wrong. And I have no reason to
Well, that's
believe that
another
any
one,
other
but I
law
wouldn't
could be
talk about it.
classified in the same way.
Any
Name
other
one
law-
name one law in the Hebrew Bible where God says this isn't what I want you to follow forever, because he says on like 6 different occasions that the law is perfect and that it's unchanging and that it's eternal. In fact,
Well, when you
Psalm
get to the
19
law-
literally says that the law of the Lord is perfect. So Psalm 19:7 says the law of the Lord is perfect, reviving the soul. The decrees of the Lord are sure, making wise the simple, which means the answer to Ian's question is yes. According to the Bible, God's law for owning slaves was morally perfect because God's law is perfect, according to Psalm 19:7.
Well, again, I just don't like that terminology. That's why I said I just think it was necessary.
You don't have to. Why was it necessary?
I think it was the
What?
perfect way
Why
to
was it
deal with the people
necessary?
at that time.
Why was it necessary?
Gosh, God
Because
just had to capitulate. It's not like he's all powerful or something.
No, because of the people at that time.
Why?
And it
So
has
what?
nothing to
God
do with
outlaws
being
all sorts of
all-powerful.
things.
It has
God
nothing
didn't
to do with God
capitulate on
being
eating of
all-powerful, though.
shrimp. God didn't capitulate on the mixing of fabrics. God didn't capitulate on witchcraft. Didn't capitulate
Those are
on
simple
murder
things, though.
of the fellow Israelites. God
Those
didn't
are simple
capitulate in
things, though.
so many
We're talking
places.
about
He didn't fold to the current habits that they held. So why did he
okay, but those are
fold
simple
on this
things
one?
because those were simple things.
So
The
is
slave trade.
slavery.
No, it
Saying no
wasn't, bro.
slaves is
It was
a
a part
simple
of the whole
thing. It's a
world, bro.
basic moral
Bro,
principle.
it wasn't a simple thing though. You know that the slave trade was like the biggest trade in the world at that time, right? Like
No,
slaves
it
were like the
wasn't.
main thing that was being sold.
No. You're confusing like
So
the
name a
African
time.
American
So
slave
name
trade
so
with the ancient Near Eastern slave trade, and they're not equivalent.
so name a time where besides this time where slavery was more of a a cultural
I
thing.
just told you the
Like
transatlantic
enslavement
slave
society.
trade.
Okay, well, I think either way, right? In this time, it was normal. Like
So what?
trading slaves was
So is
pretty normal,
adultery.
right?
Adultery was
I think it was-
normal. Idolatry was normal. Worshipping a pantheon of gods was normal. God said don't do any of that shit. God told his own people not to enslave each other, which means he could have also
Actually,
just
no,
said
adultery
don't enslave
wasn't normal.
foreigners.
Like
Okay,
adultery wasn't normal
so
at that time.
we'll try this again. I know this is difficult. We'll do one last syllogism, and then I think your brain's probably exhausted on all these talking points. So premise number 1 is God told the Israelites not to enslave each other. We agree?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Premise number 2 is God could have said to not enslave foreigners. Yes or no?
Could he have was he capable? Yes.
Okay. So then the conclusion is God chose to tell them they can own slaves. That's the conclusion. It's a decision that God made.
Yes.
Was it a morally perfect decision?
I think it was necessary.
What was it necessary for? I've asked you 10 times, you haven't answered. Why is it necessary for them to own slaves? When they left Egypt, did they own any slaves?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that.
No, because they were slaves. So why do they need slaves? Why is slavery necessary?
I think they still had their own slaves while they were in Egypt, though, right?
I didn't ask you that. I said, why are they necessary?
Why necessary? I think for that time, again, I think it was just part of the culture.
I didn't ask you if it's part of the culture. I asked, why is it necessary? Necessary means it couldn't be any other way. So why was it necessary for him to do slavery?
I think it was necessary for him to wean them out of it again, because I just think.
Where did he say that? Where did he say that you're not going to be able to do it? He never weaned them. The Bible never once weaned them off of slavery.
Well, I think he was weaning them from the beginning, and that's why he was instilling.
Then give me the verse. Give me the verse where God said slavery is not moral.
Well, it says to love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah, that's Leviticus 19:18. The same book says you can own foreigners as slaves, which means clearly your neighbor, loving your neighbor is compatible with owning slaves.
Well, yeah, but I think.
Well, there you go. So that has nothing to do with weaning them off of slavery.
Well, I think he was weaning them off by instilling these principles into them.
Give me the verse. Give me the verse where he weaned them. If you wean somebody off of something, it means that eventually they're going to be commanded to not own slaves. Where's that command?
Well, I think naturally, like if they were following God's commands, right? Eventually,
then where's the command? Where's the command that says slavery is bad?
To love people.
No, we already covered this. It's like you weren't even listening. Leviticus 19:18 says to love your neighbor as yourself. Leviticus 19:18 says to love your neighbor as yourself. That same command is in Leviticus 20. I'm sorry. The command to love your neighbor as yourself is in the same book as the command to own slaves, which means those two commandments are not incompatible. So you can't say that you're not going to do slavery based on this command when the same book says you can do slavery. Try again.
Well, that was the idea, right? Because
no, that wasn't the idea.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
No,
that's the whole.
It wasn't the whole point. If God didn't want you to own slaves, he could have said, "Don't own slaves." He told them not to own your own brethren as slaves. So what was preventing him from saying, "Hey, don't own anybody as slaves"?
I think God's saying that in this time, like again. And we know there's examples of God telling them to do certain things.
This is embarrassing.
Or not telling them to do certain things at certain times.
The amount of lies you have to tell yourself to justify biblical slavery is crazy to me. I never get over it. I'll never get over Christians contorting themselves into human pretzels over slavery in the Bible.
Bro, who's justifying slavery?
You are. You said that God had to. The all-powerful being of the universe had to do slavery. He had no other choice. Oh no, we forced his hand into slavery.
No, that's not what we're saying.
That's what you said.
At the time, it was a completely normal thing. It was a market.
Yeah, we're aware of that.
So God is working with people who don't think there's anything wrong with this to begin with.
Again, you can't show that from the text.
What do you mean I can't show that from the text?
Show in the text where God says that these laws are temporary, because as it turns out, God said exactly the opposite of that. In Deuteronomy 30, he talks about the Messianic age and says you're going to be following the laws. Let me ask you a question. According to the New Testament, the Messianic age is when God circumcises the hearts of the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Deuteronomy 30 says exactly this. Says the Lord your God will circumcise your heart and the heart of your descendants so that you will love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, in order that you may live. This is the Messianic age, right? This is the end times when God finally has like the eternal peace, right?
I'm not sure.
The answer is yes. Yeah. Paul says that it's in the New Testament. The circumcision of the heart is something that is for the future, and it's when God finally comes, like it says in Revelation, to live with his people, Revelation 21. Says
Well,
the
it
Lord
says
your God will
he's
put
talking to those people and the descendants. So it's for the people that he's talking to at that time and the descendants.
that, yeah, we're aware. This is a future prophecy. Says
Right,
that
but it says your
it
heart, which means
says
he's going to
the Lord your God will bring you back into the land that your ancestors possessed, and you will possess it, and he will make you more prosperous and numerous than your ancestors. Moreover, the Lord your God will circumcise your heart and the heart of your descendants, so that you will love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, in order that you may live. Has this occurred?
I don't know if this has occurred yet.
So then it's future, is it not?
Well, I think it. Actually, I think it's occurring.
If it hasn't occurred, that
and
means
going to
it's in
continue
the
occurring.
future,
I think it's occurring.
and it'll continue to occur forever.
I think since that time it's been occurring, and it's going to still be happening in the future until
There you go. There you go. You finally figured it out. Yep, it occurred according to the New Testament, according to Paul, and it's going to continue to occur in the future. And verse 7 says, the Lord your God will put all these curses on your enemies and on the adversaries who took advantage of you. Then you shall again obey the Lord, observing all his commandments that I'm commanding you today. So the man himself, Moses, says that in the Messianic age, you're going to be obeying all the commandments that Moses gave. That includes slavery, which means slavery is an eternal commandment.
No, I wouldn't say so.
It is, yep.
Isn't he talking about the 10 Commandments?
Nope, he didn't say 10 commandments. He said all of the commandments that I'm commanding you.
I don't know. I have to look into that.
Yeah,
But
I'm sure you will. Okay.
yeah.
Well, listen, Sapien, it's been fun. I think we've charbroiled you enough. I think we'll move on to the next one. But like just a bit of advice for the future. Like if you make claims about the Bible, you should read it first. It never looks good to make claims about the Bible and then demonstrate that you've never read it.
Yeah, maybe Dr. Philosophy has like some supplementary material that might help you in future
Inspiring
debates.
philosophy.
Doctor,
I've read the Bible. I'm just a very busy man. I don't have the best.
Yeah, we sure you are. Yeah, we sure you are. Fucking Dr. Philosophy's wild. I can't believe you picked up on that. I had no idea who he was talking about.
No, that's the only person I could think of.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. All right, friends, I'm going to grab some super chats. Sorry we drugged that one out. That was my fault. I'll take the punishment for that one. At some point during the conversation, he started to give me these vibes that he was going to be a super dishonest, bad faith interlocutor, and I just decided I want to make an example of him. But who knows? Maybe he'll learn. Dr. Joe, thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Good to see you this morning. Says, I can't help. I listen through my professional lens. I noticed listening to Sapien, thoughtful kid, is that many God of the Gaps arguments reflect low distress tolerance. The tolerance of I don't know drives cosmology, content, beliefs. I do agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that it drives like a lot of, yeah, that makes sense, right? Like, I think it probably drives like all of the God of the Gaps arguments, like the stuff about, well, I just don't think abiogenesis could have done it. I guess God exists, like all of that stuff. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. And Herbie, great to see you this morning. Thank you for the super chat. Says, nice to hear Ian will be on the line. Nice that Justin is getting some different hosts on there. I'm watching at 1.5 speed, and only at the start of the show, first guest is starting off as an ass. Yeah. Yeah, that tends to be how that works out. But I mean, you know, what are you gonna do, Herbie? We get a lot of them that are less than pleasant. Actually, Dr. Joe weighed in again. Says, I retract my previous compliment about Sapien. Sapient devolved. Yeah. Yeah, he did. That's why I got that inkling that it's time to get the grill roasting going. Big Cheese, good to see you this morning, says can't argue for deist God and then hop to Christianity. One is a being that wants a relationship, while the other is an undetectable and no intervention. Properties are mutually exclusive. Actually, that's a fair point. I mean, the arguments that they want to give typically are sometimes deistic in nature rather than theistic, although I don't know if Sapient was bordering on deism. I don't know if he was. What do you think?
I'm considering that point. I don't think that he was bordering on deism, but if like the minimal claim is that there is no mind that created the universe, I mean, I think you could either do like a cosmological argument and try to establish it that way, or I mean, if you demonstrate the truth of Christianity, then certainly an implication of that would be that God exists, that there is a mind that created the universe. I think I don't really see the problem because that's kind of like, you know, when people try to establish the truth of the Bible to establish God's existence, you know, it's a little bit indirect and like you're over proving it, but you are proving it. Um, so I don't know. I think that method is fine. I'm not sure I see a problem with it.
Carissa, thank you for sending out 10 unapologetic gifted memberships. We really appreciate that, friend. Big W. And Salty Toad, thank you for a super chat. Says another Christian using the at the time to justify God not telling people to not own slaves of the time is always so much stronger than God. I guess since he couldn't just say it point blank. Actually, and you know what? I mean, if you believe that it was time dependent, that just means you believe in moral relativism. And I bet if we asked the guest, he wouldn't think that he was a moral relativist. But here we are. And Cheese coming again says theists need to provide historical evidence that demonstrates why God promotes slavery as opposed to giving people jobs or just barter system. Bible is an antithetical to Enlightenment values. I agree. And you know, I think most Christians that have thought about slavery usually couch it as like a punishment, because at least that way you can say it was deserved, right? Slavery is not good, but as a punishment, it's acceptable. And that's usually a more palatable route. And she says, I would love to hear theists demonstrate how divorce is objectively morally wrong, which according to Jesus is in all cases. I mean, kind of. Luke and Matthew disagree. In Luke, he says that it's wrong in all cases. In Matthew, he makes an exception for adultery. It's touchy to know which one. But I mean, Luke agrees with you. And she says child brides were part of the culture and Bible doesn't have age consent. I mean, that is true. If we learned anything from Numbers 31, it's that God's okay with child war brides. And Nucleo Tidal Wave says the Holy Spirit has poor reading comprehension skills. When I was in school, I relied on the Holy Spirit to help me read textbooks. Actually, that doctor did that. That doctor, Ben, what's his name? Ben something or another, that tried to run for president once. He's
Ben
like
Carson.
Ben Carson, yeah. Said that God helped him pass one of his like physics exams.
I think it's tragic that he's like the most well-known like Johns Hopkins alumni.
It does hurt that is the case. David, good to see you this morning. David says, Ian, what's the name? I think what's name of book on BCE slavery you had the other day? I want to find out if it was all sunshine and roses like apologists profess.
I think it's these two. So I haven't read either of these. I bet Justin might have read both of these. But the first one is Did the Old Testament Endorse Slavery by Joshua Bowen? And then the second one is Slavery in Early Christianity by Jennifer Glancy. Have you read either of those?
Yeah, I read the one by Bowen, but not by Glancy. Actually, I haven't read Glancy's work. If I had to guess, let me see who published it. I don't see a publisher on the front. I'm curious if it's self-published. Huh. Okay. I'll have to check it out. I've never heard of Jennifer A. Glancy. But, Fortress Press looks like it published it. Let me see if it's the same book. Yeah, Fortress. Okay, so it's probably an academic work of some nature. Fortress Press published it. Okay. I'll have to give it a look.
Yeah.
Yeah. We love
I hear
book
that it goes
suggestions.
into details about like specifically like the life of a slave, like what it would have been like.
Yeah. Okay, so Jennifer Glancy went to school. She got a degree in New Testament and early Christianity. Her PhD was from, I think, Columbia University. So she looks like a real academic. I'll have to give it a look. Okay.
Yeah.
Miko says Ian's no low tier atheist from a clip earlier. I'm stealing that. If I do YouTube, I'm calling my channel Low Tier Atheist Debates.
Yeah. There
Please
was an
do.
interaction I had with some guest that was it was the one that I posted, I think last night, where this guy was trying desperately to pivot away. We had caught him in a contradiction and he was trying so hard to get out of it, to just like pivot to a new topic. And I was like, what do you think this is? Low tier atheist debates? I'm not going to let you pivot. Like, get back to the question.
Yeah, it's a good name for a channel. I'm going to grab 3 more super chats and then we'll have to save the rest for later, friends. Taylor said, if science is the Christian invention, but math is the Muslim invention, then why do Christians need to use Muslim math? True. That's a really good point. Yep. And Texas Panhandler says, the fault in your guys' view is that you haven't tapped into the power of special pleading and cognitive dissonance. That is the case, actually. Yeah. And Iantu says, praise Doug, the rock of our salvation, the pebbles of purification, the boulder of all blessings. Indeed, that is the case. Rock hard for Doug, simply wet for Sharon, of course. All right, let's grab our next guest. I think Garlic Bread was next in line, and then I'm going to grab Christopher after that. All right, 1 second. There we go. Garlic Bread. Can you hear us? Oh, they dropped. Okay. I guess Garlic Bread wasn't next in line, so we'll grab Christopher. It's a shame they waited all this time. Christopher, welcome in. Are you at least 18 and do you believe in God?
I am 37 and I definitely believe in God. And I think it's important that we make some really important understandings of the Bible extremely clear, which are undebatable in this conversation.
Not this guy again.
In addition, I want to establish that when we speak, I want to make sure that I'm never going to interrupt either of you. And I want to make sure you also do not interrupt me.
This guy's like a yapaholic. If you're on topic, then I won't interrupt you.
Yeah, and if you don't answer questions, then we will interrupt you.
Sure. So I think in order to understand one of the points it seems that you're both making, and
well,
just
let's get a few things out here first. We have to figure out what we're talking about before we even start talking. Are you a believer in a specific God or a generic God?
Christian God, Jesus as the true nature of what God is.
Gotcha. So you're
also,
Christian.
Justin, I'm sorry. Did you see the message I sent you over Discord?
I did. I just turned it down. So I just turned my audio down. If I need to turn it down more, friends, let me know.
Okay, sure.
So, Christopher, do you have an argument or a piece of evidence that would lead one to conclude that God is real?
Yes, but in addition, I think we should also discuss the concept of slavery, because it seems that both of you continue to make the point that slavery is backed up by God. Is that accurate?
Yeah, he certainly endorsed it in the book of Leviticus, and Exodus.
Okay. So the most important point that Ian still doesn't seem to understand is that there's a huge difference between the Old Covenant and the New Covenant, and Ian doesn't seem to understand how the Bible is even structured.
Yeah, it turns out I do, though, and I agree with Ian. So the problem that you have is that Jesus and Jesus's dad agree that the laws are in effect forever, whereas Paul and those who came after Jesus' death disagree. So there's a fundamental contradiction as to whether or not the laws are forever. You have to choose between God or Paul.
So Romans 8, 1 through 4
I'm
establishes...
sorry, is that Jesus or Paul saying that?
Well, the point
is that Jesus or Paul saying that?
This is Paul. These are writings about Jesus' teachings.
Did you hear what I just said a minute ago?
I did. Yeah.
Okay, is there a spot where Jesus says that the law is going away?
So the entire understanding of the Bible is that Jesus came to fulfill the old covenant and
No.
reset a covenant with God.
That's the understanding of Paul and those who followed Paul. That's not the understanding of Jesus or his Father. Jesus says, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven." So Jesus believes that following the law makes you great in the kingdom of heaven.
Correct, but what's important is
There
there's
you
a
go.
difference in which law Jesus is referencing, and most Christians believe that what Jesus is referencing in this are that Jesus' 2 commandments of the new covenant.
Well, that would be wrong because that doesn't happen for another like 15 chapters. And he specifically tells you the law or the prophets. The law is the Torah, the law of Moses. Reading comprehension is at an all-time low. I'm worried about our
No,
country.
I'm sorry that you're about to get properly
Yeah, I'm sure
destroyed.
that's what's going to happen.
But
So what is the law? What's
there
the
are
law and the
so
You
many
know
prophets?
you're a
Christian
rhetorical
scholars.
titan when you're opening the discussion with a Joker monologue. That's
Okay, well,
that's
let
some
me just establish there are
rhetorical
many,
prowess
many,
there.
many Christian scholars
You know,
who have
laughing maniacally.
PhDs
I'm
in
about to
divinity.
destroy you. Wow, this dude's a
Okay.
rhetorical fucking juggernaut.
This is, I can feel your fear. I'm sorry you're scared of somebody who actually knows what they're
Yeah.
talking about and can
I'm sure
actually
the
Yeah,
audience
that's what it
definitely
is.
feels my fear too. It sounds like I'm terrified.
Okay, so let's just keep going with this. Let me continue to establish this. Okay, so it's Ian, and what's this other guy's name?
Justin.
You can just refer to me as daddy because I'm about to spank you, buddy.
Wow, that was really embarrassing to even say.
No, I think it was
Okay,
funny.
so Justin, when you come into the world born as a baby, how many things do you own?
Are you going to address the fact that
Oh,
Jesus
not
says
this
the
one
law or the
again.
prophets?
Well, first off,
So I know.
anybody can
I
get on-
asked you a question and you're going to answer it. I'm not going to let you
Yeah, okay,
evade it. We told you at the beginning of this conversation that we're not going to let you pivot or run away from questions. And I asked you a question like probably almost a minute ago. I said, "What does Jesus mean when he says law or prophets? What are those?"
And I think that we're having a disagreement about the
I didn't ask you
interpretation.
about the disagreement. I asked you, what does he mean when he says law or prophets? What are those referring to?
He said he came to fulfill the law in the
I didn't
next
ask you
line,
what he
right
did to
there.
do. I didn't ask you about that. I said, what are the law and prophets? What are they?
The law is the 10 Commandments.
No, wrong again. The law is the law of Moses.
Okay.
There's
so
not a
this
single
is-
instance in the entire Bible where the 10 Commandments of Moses are referred to as the law.
Okay, that's just not true as well.
That is 100% true.
Okay.
Show it to me.
Um,
I'll give you $100 right now, a Venmo to you, if you can find me a single instance where the law is summed up as just the 10 Commandments.
Okay. Regardless of this
So you can't do it.
distraction, which you're
Gotcha.
basically trying to what you're doing is trying to cause a distraction when I'm trying to get to the main point of the
Actually, what I'm doing
Well-
is I'm showing you right now that when Jesus says the law has not been abolished, he means the law of Moses. And scholars
But
agree
there's
with
other
me
verses
in the
which are also important in
Oxford Bible
You're
commentary.
taking one little verse and acting
He
like
says,
this concludes
denying
everything,
the
which is
suspicion
obviously
that
just not
Jesus
accurate.
abolishes the Torah, these verses look forward, not backwards. For no such suspicion should arise from what has gone forth. This scholar says no suspicion of Jesus abolishing the law should be going forth.
Okay, why don't you pull up Galatians
I'm sorry.
3, 1 through 14?
It's almost like I already addressed this. Did Jesus write
Well,
Galatians or did
but-
Paul write Galatians?
The issue with what you're doing is you're not realizing that there's other parts of the Bible
No,
which obviously
Christopher,
authenticate what I'm saying.
I realize it and I already addressed it. You weren't
But
listening.
just because
All
you
right, so
address
put
it
your-
in one verse,
So put
doesn't-
your
you have
so
to-
put your listening cap on for 5 seconds so you don't embarrass yourself even more.
okay.
What I
I'm here.
told you at the beginning of this was Paul, who is not
Okay.
Jesus, disagrees
Correct.
with
You're right.
Jesus. Paul
Okay.
says that the law was a temporary schoolmaster, Galatians chapter 3. Paul says that the law was abolished, Ephesians chapter 2, verse 14 and 15. Paul says
Okay.
that he, a Jew, is no longer under the law, 1 Corinthians 9:20. I know what Paul says. What I told you was that Paul and Jesus don't agree. The God of the Hebrew Bible says that the law is perfect and forever. Jesus says that the law is in effect until heaven and earth pass away, and that if you teach others not to follow the law, that you're least in the kingdom of God. That is a fundamental disagreement with Pauline theology.
Yeah, but many Christians would debate you, and this is what we're debating about, is that which law Jesus is referring to.
There's
and
only
the law
one.
That we you're misunderstanding, because what
Show
Jesus
me.
specifically says, what
Show
Jesus
me.
specifically, like they asked Jesus directly
Show
in
me.
the Bible. And I
Show
hope
me.
all your guests are listening.
This is going to get embarrassing for
What
guests.
they ask Jesus directly, which are the most important commandments to follow?
Yep.
And what does Jesus directly reply?
Oh, buddy, you're making it worse.
No, I'm not. I know the Bible.
You don't know.
You just cherry
So,
pick. And
in
you try to
Matthew
I'm sad for your
22,
guess, because you direct your guest into incorrect teachings of the Bible.
in Matthew 22, he gives you the two greatest commandments. In fact, again, I'll Venmo you $100 if you can find either of these two in the 10. It says,
I can tell by
you
your
shall
debate
love.
style, you don't debate ethically. You cherry pick. You don't allow your guest to actually establish a
I'm
full
I can tell by your
thesis to
debate
their
style
argument.
that you don't debate substantively. Engage with the argument.
I'll give you all
It
kinds
says,
of verses that show that
you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your mind. Is that part of the 10?
No, this is the new
Okay,
covenant.
the second commandment is, this is the greatest and first commandment. Second is like it, you shall love your neighbors yourself. Is that part of the 10 commandments?
That's the new covenant.
No, they're not. Do you know where these are quoted
Yes.
from?
This is the new covenant.
You
that
think
Jesus set
Jesus
with her.
invented this? You think these are new commandments?
I don't,
Are you
do
insane
you
right
even
now?
understand why Jesus came? Do you
This
all
guy's
understand
literally
why Jesus came?
literally insane. He doesn't know these are quotations from the Bible. So this is
This is where
Deuteronomy
you're
6:5 and Leviticus 19:18. These are not new commandments. He specifically tells you they're not new commandments. Look at the question. It's like your reading comprehension is in kindergarten.
Okay,
They
what is
did-
the
they
name?
they
what is
asked
the
him-
name of the second. What is
they
the
asked
name of
him
the second half of the Bible?
What's
the
which
name of the second half of the Bible?
it's called the New Testament if you're a
No,
Christian.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And
It
what is
says,
and what is
teacher,
the New Testament?
hey,
Even, what is
hey,
the point of the New Testament?
hey, pay attention.
What's the point of the New Testament?
The point of the New Testament is to demonstrate that you've never read the Old Testament. So let's actually read Jesus'
No,
words.
That's incorrect. That's
So we're
incorrect.
going to read Jesus'
you're literally
words.
directing your
We're going
guest
to
into
read
a
Jesus'
misunderstanding of
words.
the
This
entire
is
Bible.
this is what you brought up, not me. You said that these were new commandments. The question that Jesus is answering
I
is,
said it was the
teacher,
new covenant.
which
First off. I did not say it's the new
commandment
commandment.
in
I
the
said new
law,
covenant.
which commandment in the law is greatest? When he says the law, what's he referring to?
The new covenant.
Wrong again. That's the Torah.
Okay.
These are not Christians.
No, the new covenant
These
is
are-
not the Torah.
These are
The new covenant is
Sadducees
not the
and
Torah.
Pharisees. He says the Sadducees and Pharisees heard that he had the Pharisees heard he had silenced the Sadducees, and they gathered together, and one of them, an expert in the law, that's clearly the law of Moses, asked him a question about the law of Moses. There weren't
like Jesus.
there weren't
rebuked the
experts.
Pharisees, this is
there
exactly
weren't-
what I'm doing to you today.
You're making a
Because
fool
you
of yourself
literally
right
don't
now is what's
understand what you're
happened.
talking about.
You're making
Okay.
a fool of
So
yourself.
let me ask you a question. What is the new
Well,
covenant in the
y-
Bible?
you're not
Like,
done
you seem
yet.
Like you think you're a Bible expert.
You're not
so
done
tell me
yet.
what is the new
You're not
covenant?
done yet. When it says they were experts in the law, what law were they experts in?
The law, the Torah.
There
Which
you
is-
go.
which-
Okay. And do you think
Right.
that the experts in the law were asking them a question about the law, meaning the Torah?
Yes, they were referencing the
Oh,
Torah.
great. Okay. So they asked him then, the question is, which one of the commandments in the Torah is greatest? That's the question, right? I don't know why you keep swiping away.
Hello?
It's
Can you hear
probably
me?
Jesus calling him up saying, fuck, dude, get off the live. This is embarrassing.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. So the question that is
Oh.
being asked of him is, which law in the law of Moses is greatest, correct?
Okay, sure.
Okay, which
what
means
I am referencing
the
that-
answer to his question are two different laws of Moses. These are not new laws. These are Levitical laws. The first one is Deuteronomy 6:5. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. The second one is Leviticus 19:18. Says you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So these are not new laws. And if you had read the Bible for even 5 minutes, you would have seen maybe a cross-reference on the side of your Bible or the middle column of your Bible showing you where this comes from. This is not hard. I'll never understand why people get up here and make overconfident false claims about the Bible.
Okay, first, let me just establish this with your guests because you all are leading them in a very false direction and
Prove
making
me wrong.
cherry-picked
What have I
claims.
said that was
Okay,
false?
I'd like to. I would like to.
What have I said that
Well,
was
would you
false?
let me? Okay, so there's a couple really key points that you're leaving out to your guests, which are will basically deconstruct why God did not believe in slavery, and I would like to establish those before you take me out of your chat room.
I asked you, what did I say that was false?
But well, you're not properly establishing the
Spanked.
entire purpose of the New Testament, and that's the biggest problem for your guest. Is you're not understanding that the entire purpose of Jesus' life was to establish a new covenant with God on earth. That's the entire purpose of the New Testament.
Again, that doesn't negate the law. Paul and Jesus disagree on the role of the law, and you have yet to address it.
Okay, there are many verses which do reference the negation of the Mosaic law that Jesus
And
came to establish a
do
new
any
covenant.
of them come from Jesus or God?
Okay, this is an important question, and let's stick to this question just for a second. You are like, what you're trying
I
to
said,
say is
did
that
any
the
of them
only
come
reason
from Jesus or God? Yes or no?
the new covenant came
Did
from
any?
Jesus.
No, I asked you the commands or the instructions that the law is temporary and going to pass away. Did Jesus say that, or did somebody else say that?
His disciples referenced it
There
in
you
their
go.
writings
You got
about
it.
Jesus.
Yeah, I
Okay,
know
but
they
who are
did,
they writing?
and they disagreed
And who are
with
they writing
Jesus.
about?
Jesus says that you must follow the laws.
Okay, but this is what you're not establishing to your guests and what is really important. So there's many accounts of Jesus's life, and somebody else who's also writing about his life specifically wrote that Jesus literally came to get rid of the Mosaic laws and establish
Yeah,
a new covenant with
we
God.
know, and they disagree with Jesus.
Right? That's not true.
It
There-
is
there's-
true. We
there-
just showed you Jesus' own words. Jesus' own
Okay.
words is that
Okay.
if you teach people not to follow the law, you're least in the kingdom of heaven. Those are his own words. I didn't make them up.
Am I allowed to establish multiple verses which show that Jesus came to set a new covenant with God? Are you? Am I? Because
So-
you've cherry picked.
So
To your
again,
whole guess.
a new covenant has nothing to do with whether or not you have to follow the laws.
But which laws is the important question here, right?
All of them.
So no, that's not true. That's inaccurate. That's just fully inaccurate.
According to Jesus, that's accurate.
This is where your argument's wrong.
I'll
and
read
I'm
it.
sorry that you
I'll
just
read it
lost
for
this
you
debate.
again. So it
You
says,
can- you just
therefore,
type it into
whoever
Google. Here.
whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same. So
Okay, would you say
breaking-
that AI is
breaking-
probably better at referencing all information than you are? Yes or
no, not referencing the Bible. It has no idea how to
Okay,
read.
So
therefore, whoever
using
breaks
AI very simply here,
Therefore,
just to
whoever
correct
breaks one of the
Justin-
least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. What is
Okay,
it?
Now Justin's
What does
on-
what does
Justin's
this?
on-
What does the
Justin's
verse?
scared because
What
I'm
does the
about to
verse
correct him,
mean?
and I'm about
What's
to
it?
win this entire argument.
You're
Yeah,
not.
You can really
Okay.
hear the fear in Justin's voice.
What's this
It doesn't
verse
sound
mean?
You
like
can
this
tell
guy
I'm
is
not
getting
afraid.
brutalized
That's
at
for
all.
sure.
What's this
Okay,
verse mean,
all right.
Christopher?
First, let's get to the heart of
What's
this
the
argument.
verse mean, Christopher?
You do not speak to me at all like I'm underneath you because I'm
You-
not. I'm a child
you're-
of God, and
you're
I'm not
definitely
scared of you in the
underneath
slightest
of
because
me.
You're literally
You're-
logically inconsistent.
I'm your daddy right now. You're getting spanked
No,
in
I
front
know
of
you're not.
a
You're
live
not my daddy in the
audience.
slightest. You literally
Yeah,
don't
that is
even
the
have a
case.
relationship with God, and you don't understand the
Well,
Bible.
God's not
You're the
real,
opposite
and
of
I
my
do
daddy.
understand
You're
the
literally like an
Bible, which is
embarrassing
why
little boy
I'm
that wants to-
explaining it to you right now.
Okay,
Therefore,
okay.
whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. What does it mean?
You are cherry picking.
What does it
incorrect
mean?
Ways to interpret the Bible.
What does it mean?
Okay, therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. This is talking about you should follow the laws that Jesus establishes.
But where does he say the ones I'm going to establish? Because he only gives you one law, and it comes in a different book, and it's not in the book of Matthew.
This is so easy for all people to understand. Just study what the new covenant with
I
God
have,
is.
Christopher.
Okay, and what's the new covenant? Then answer to all of your guests. What is the new covenant?
The new covenant,
Why don't you answer
according
that?
to Paul or Jesus,
Well, let's do both. Why don't we just do both?
because they're not the same. You got to pick one.
So many Christians have established this for thousands of years. This is
No,
so simple. and
they
you are
haven't.
literally- you
I'm
are
asking
totally
you, do you want the new
wanting all your
covenant
guests
according to
lie.
Paul or according to Jesus?
Okay, so according to Paul, what is the new covenant?
The new covenant is an abolishing of the law so that the Greeks and the Gentiles can be joined to the Jews in union through faith alone, not by any works that any man should boast, which disagrees with Jesus. Jesus says that when he comes back to judge mankind, he's specifically going to be judging them on their actions. Jesus says that the law is in effect until heaven and earth pass away. The new covenant to Jesus has nothing to do with whether or not you're going to follow these laws. The new covenant is about who gets to participate in the system. According to Jesus, he came to only bring back the Israelites. They rejected him. The new covenant is now for all people, and it includes the laws. So the new
No, it
covenant
does
is
not. The new
irrelevant as to
covenant does
whether
not
or not
include-
you're going to be following the laws. Both Jeremiah
so-
and Jesus and his daddy agree that you're going to be following the laws.
Okay, so just to make sure that I direct your guests towards the actual truth and not
You're-
false truth,
you're not gonna be
all
able
that your
to-
guests have to do.
They know the Bible better than
type
you
in
do.
Something, you have a computer in front of you. I want you to type this in on Google, Justin, really quickly. Do Christians need to follow the Mosaic laws? Yes.
According
or
to
no?
Jesus,
You see-
yes.
What does AI say? What does
According to
AI say?
Jesus, yes.
What does Jesus say?
What does
What does Jesus say?
Jesus abolished that law. That's the
Show
whole
me.
point of his
Show me.
sacrifice.
Show me where Jesus
That's
did
even-
that. Show me
Okay,
where
can I
Jesus
give
said
you-
that. He'll never be able to do it. He's going to keep bringing me verses from Paul.
Matthew 22:37 through 40.
We just read Matthew 22. Were you paying attention?
Matthew 22:37 through 40.
We just read it. Were you paying attention?
Okay. This is the new covenant. On
read
these
it.
two commandments.
Read
What is
it.
40? What does 40
Read
say?
it.
Whoa,
No, read
calm
it.
down
What
there,
does 40
just
say?
relax.
Christopher,
Read 40 out
Christopher, read it.
loud. Okay, I will read it out loud, and I want everyone to pay
Start
specific
in
attention to
verse
Matthew 40.
Start in verse 34 because we already read it twice and you weren't paying attention. So this is now the third
Okay.
time we're reading this.
When Justin realized that Christopher came into this chat room and had silenced him as a Sadducee, they gathered together.
Terrified. He's
and one of them, an
terrified to
expert
read
in the
it.
law,
He
All he
is.
can
And one of
do
them,
is
an expert
cry
in the law,
about the
asked the
meta.
question
I'm
to test
sorry
him.
the debate went bad for you. Just read the
I'm not,
verse.
no, I
You're
love
literally
proving you both wrong
crying
in
about the
front of
meta.
700
You're
people.
terrified of the substance of the discussion.
I'm not terrified at
We
all. Let
just
me
want you to
continue to
read the
finish
verse.
reading it.
Just go ahead and read
Hey,
the
he's
verse.
terrified. Read it.
Teacher, which I'm the teacher here. Which commandment
You're
is
certainly
the law
not.
the greatest?
Where do you get your
Okay.
credentials from, Christopher?
The Bible. Thank you.
Oh, you read it? Yeah. Is that so?
Yes, I have.
Can you
I
name?
understand how
Can
it
you
actually
name
works,
even
unlike
one?
you.
Can you name even one post-exilic prophet?
I am a teacher of the new
Oh,
covenant.
oh,
not the
no!
Mosaic.
Oh no! Okay, so you're not a Bible teacher.
No, I'm not. I'm not a Torah teacher. I'm a new covenant teacher. There's a big difference.
Oh yeah. What does
We
what
have
does
direct
Ju-
connection with God.
what
We
is
don't
Jude
deal
quoting? What is Jude quoting in verse 14 when he says that there's going to be judgment coming? Where's he getting that quote from?
Okay, first off, why are we getting off topic?
You
Because
said
this doesn't make any sense.
I'm just
Why don't we stick
embarrassing.
to the topic?
I'm just embarrassing you at this point. This is because it's fun for me.
No, you're trying to pull a
So,
random
in Jude
quote from the Bible
1:14,
and then reference it because you're embarrassed in
it
front of your
says,
audience that I actually
It
know
was about these that Enoch in the seventh generation from Adam prophesied, saying, "See, the Lord is coming with 10,000s of his holy ones." What's he quoting?
Okay, because you just got scared, can we go back to like
What's
the
he-
original topic?
So
that
you don't
already
know
have,
what he's
like,
quoting. So you have no idea what the New Testament teaches. Just
Justin,
checking.
it sounds like you're a little nervous right now. Can we just go back to the original
Buddy,
entire
the
claim of
projection
the
is
new
crazy here.
Yeah, you can literally hear the quiver in his
Matthew
voice. Like, who
37.
the hell are
Let's
you to
go
call
back. So
anyone
you asked me to read
nervous?
it.
You
Teacher,
Yeah.
can
which
hear the little
commandment in the
upward
law is the
inflections
greatest?
in
He
his
said to him,
voice
you
that
shall
he
love the
does
Lord your
over
God with all
time,
your
which
heart, with
means
all
that
your
he's
soul, with all your mind.
nervous.
Okay.
But then he's trying to
Now,
project
what
that
does 40
nervousness
say?
onto
What does
us
40
as if
say?
we're doing that.
On these two commandments
Mm-hmm.
hang all the law and the prophets.
You
Hang
got it.
all
Yeah.
the law
And you
and
want to
the
know what that
prophets.
actually
Let's read
means?
that again for
You
your
want to
whole
know?
audience. Let's
Do you
read
want
this
to know what?
again. Let's
Listen,
read
you can
this
laugh.
again for your
You can
whole
laugh all you
On
want,
these
but
two commandments, this is Jesus.
you're
Hang
gonna. All you're doing is embarrassing yourself.
A-L-L, all the law and the prophets.
Incredible self
All the
dunk.
law.
Yeah. What a cell
That says
phone?
all the law.
I know you've just now cell phoned yourself. What is the law?
The ones he just referenced.
No, he says all of the law hang on these
On these two
two.
commandments
So what is
hang all
so what
of
is
the law.
so what is the law that hangs on it?
He is referencing right
I
here.
will try this
that
again.
This is
When
the
he
law.
says
This is the new covenant.
on these two commandments hang all of the law, what is the law?
Those two commandments.
No. Try again. On these two commandments hang all of the law. What does that mean?
Yeah. So he's basically saying that when you understand these two commandments
He didn't
properly,
say
then
that.
they fulfill the law.
Wrong again. So this is already a
No,
popular
you-
quote
you-
within
now we can
Judaism.
debate
You can find this in
interpretation.
the Talmud. This is not something Jesus invented.
Okay. now
When
you're talking
asked
about the
to
Talmud.
categorize,
If you
when
wanna talk
asked
about
to,
the Talmud,
when asked to
Jesus has
categorize,
nothing to do with the Talmud. The
okay,
Talmud.
and we're just gonna do this. So you came in here demanding that we don't talk over you, and you provided no reason to not talk over you. And because I'm tired of shouting at my microphone, I've got to mute you now to address your bad claims. So it says the law and the prophets hang on these two. The law and the prophets, those are two categories of things from the Old Testament. These are not referring to anything in the future. The law and the prophets of the Hebrew Bible are dependent or can be categorized on these two categories. He's talking about the law and the prophets, not anything new. This is not a new covenant. And this was already a quote within Judaism. In fact, if you read the Talmud, you'll find multiple people stating that the whole of the law can be summed up in these two laws. So what he's not giving you is two new commandments. He's giving you the two most important commandments because all of the law and the prophets can be summarized by using these two commandments.
He's probably still speaking.
No way. He's done talking. He's gonna. In fact, I should have got the timer out to see how long he'd talk to himself on mute.
Buddy, you gotta hit the unmute button.
Okay, so you all hit the mute button.
There we go. He got it.
He didn't realize.
So you all hit the mute button, then you want me to unmute it. Okay, so just to make sure that I'm clear with my points, which there's many books which back up what I'm saying, that Jesus came to establish a new covenant which fulfills the old law and brings forth a new law. The second part that
find
we want to
me-
deconstruct, which
find
is one of
me
your
a quote where Jesus says that.
Let's move to a second point.
Christopher,
It's
you
like
have
let's
yet
run,
to.
let's
You have
run
yet
like
to.
a motherfucker. From
He's
this
gonna run
point.
for it.
Okay.
I've been asking you over and
I'm not
over
gonna
again.
run. I
Find
know
me a
this- Why would
passage.
I run from two people? Who don't
Find me
understand the
a
Bible?
passage where Jesus says it.
The one I just gave you Matthew 40, but first
There
let me
There was
Matthew
a self-dunk that
22.
really demonstrated the opposite.
Matthew
You want another
22, which demonstrated the opposite. And again, the scholars agree with me. If
22,
in my
40, Matthew
in the
22,
Oxford
40.
Bible commentary, it literally says the commandment to love the neighbor, which Akiva reportedly called the greatest principle of the law already before this was written, was already within the tradition. Together, they
Okay,
summarize the. Together, they summarize.
Are you ready to keep going? Let's go to Galatians 3.
I'm
1
sorry.
through
I
14.
asked you for Jesus's words. Can you find me them?
This is still the new covenant.
I'm
This
asking
is the
for
writings of-
I'm asking for Jesus's words.
But okay, so we are
So
establishing people who
Christopher,
wrote on the
Christopher,
accounts of
I
Jesus.
already established that Paul says that the law was temporary and done away with. I'm not asking you about Paul. I'm asking you about Jesus.
So let me. We're just gonna make sure we understand your claim, which is quite hilarious, and I just encourage all your every guest on this.
It's so hilarious you can't
to-
prove me
to just
wrong.
go ask. Okay, so this is what your claim is. Your claim, basically, in this podcast or what in this interview of what you're asking, you literally think that Jesus did not establish a new covenant. That's your claim, and you think that Jesus
Nope,
wanted
I didn't
us
say that at all. It's like
Okay,
it's
well,
like you get my
No, I'm
autistic
asking,
7-year-old can
this is
listen
a
better than you,
serious
and he's
question.
not even verbal. I
No,
said
this
that
is a serious.
Jesus' version of the
you
new
think that
covenant
Jesus wants us
doesn't
to
get
follow
rid of the
all
law of
Mosaic law?
Moses. He said so.
So you truly believe that Jesus did not establish a new covenant and a new law, and
I
your
didn't
belief
say
is that Jesus,
new
I'm
covenant.
asking you. I'm asking you.
Christopher, hey, pay attention for 5 seconds. If you quit talking, you'd actually hear what I said.
Okay, I'm
Jesus's
asking you.
new covenant doesn't entail a doing away with the law.
So this is a disagreement in Christianity in general, and I would say the majority of Christians, based on multiple different passages, believe that Jesus abolished and fulfilled
Then
the old law,
find
and
me the passage where Jesus said it.
Okay, well, I just gave you one, and I'll give you another, but you're not
No,
pulling
you
it
didn't.
up.
You didn't give me
Do
one.
you want to pull
Matthew,
up Galatians?
Matthew. That's not Jesus,
Would you like to
dummy.
pull up Galatians?
That's
He doesn't
not
even know his own
Jesus.
Bible. He thinks that Jesus is speaking in Galatians.
Here,
What
we'll just fast forward this. I'll just give you the passages that you don't know. I know them by heart. I have them in my head already because I've actually read the Bible. And then maybe we can get rid of this bad talking point. Ephesians 2, verse 14 and 15 says, "For he is our peace." I'm reading them to you. "For he is our peace. In our flesh he has made both into one and has broken down the dividing wall that is the hostility between us, abolishing the law with its commandments and ordinances, that he might create in himself one new humanity in the place of the two, thus making peace." And then we go to Galatians 3:23. Probably want to get 24 in there as well. It says, "Now, before faith came, we were imprisoned and guarded under the law until faith would be revealed. Therefore, the law was our disciplinarian until Christ came, so that we might be reckoned as righteous by faith." 1 Corinthians 9, verse 20. He says, "To the Jews I became a Jew in order to gain Jews. To those under the law I became as one under the law, though I myself am not under the law, so that I might gain those under the law." Listen, we agree that Paul doesn't think the law is in effect. I'm asking you to find a passage where Jesus agrees, because Jesus explicitly disagrees, as does his father in the Hebrew Bible.
Oh, you muted me again. Are you asking me a question? Say that last part one more time.
So you weren't listening to anything I said, were you?
Oh, I listened to most ways. I just missed the very last part. I'm sorry.
Find me a
Let's actually do a
passage.
quick test, right? Can you summarize back what Justin just said?
So you pulled up multiple passages, which I believe directly establish that Christ specifically said, "I'm establishing a new covenant with God on earth."
That show me in any of those passages where Christ said it.
Yeah. Who is speaking in Galatians? Let's get a quick sanity check. Who is the speaker of Galatians?
I think that you all are not understanding that the entire New Testament are
Who-
writings about
I'll ask
Who
the
wrote
question a
Galatians?
second time. Who's the speaker in Galatians?
He has no idea.
Oh, fuck. Probably should have looked into this one.
First, pull up Galatians 3. Let's pull it up, and then
That's
we'll
going
get
to
into
be a
it.
dodge as
Galatians
well.
3,
I'll
1
ask
through
the
14.
question
You
a
didn't even pull up
third
the one.
time.
We're on dodge
Who is
number
the
3.
Speaker in
I'm
Galatians.
not dodging anything.
Who is that?
First, we haven't even pulled
Just
up the
answer
verses that I
question.
asked you to pull up. We've
Who is
only
the
pulled up
author
verses
of
you all have wanted to
Galatians?
pull
Who's
up.
the narrator?
You all still have not
Who is
even wanted to
that?
pull up
Dodge
one verse
number
I've asked you.
4.
Yep. This guy quadged the question at this point.
I'm not
Answer.
dodging anything. I'm
Who
literally
is the
first asking you
author?
before
Who's
we
the
even dive into
speaker?
the writers. Why don't you pull up the verses first?
Listen, is dodging the question morally permissible in the Christian worldview? And if
I'm
it's
not
not,
dodging-
why do you do it so much? Just answer the question. Who
First,
is
let's
the
pull up Galatians,
narrator of
and
the
then we'll
book of
dive into the
Galatians? Who
writers
wrote
of
that?
who is writing
that?
about this. Galatians
Go
3,
ahead.
1 through 14.
Who is the author of Galatians? Just answer the question. I'm getting revelation from Allah. He's revealed to me that Christopher's never going to answer this question.
I'm right here.
That is the case.
Paul wrote Galatians.
Thank you.
Oh,
Paul
okay. So did Jesus say anything in Galatians?
Did Jesus write any book in the Bible? Yes. Or
No.
And so are all the books written by somebody else? Yes or no?
Yes, but did Jesus's words
Okay,
get
so every
recorded?
single point you have made
Did
was
Jesus-
also not written by Jesus. Correct?
Whoa, calm
Yes or no?
down. You're
That's
getting
not
quite
my
excited.
point. That's not my
Oh,
point.
so
Maybe
you just got
maybe
served. Every
maybe
single book in the Bible
maybe
is not
if
written by
you
Jesus.
that's not the point that we're making.
That's a huge point.
If you'd
You're
stop,
trying to make
that's
points
not
on other people who are writing about.
Whoa,
dummy.
calm down.
That's not the point we're making. The point that we're making is that we're interested in Jesus's words, not whether he wrote the words. We're admitting that Jesus didn't write anything, but at least the Gospels record his actual spoken word. That's what we're interested in.
Mhm. Words are attributed to him. Which words are attributed to Jesus in Galatians?
Okay, Justin muted me again because he's scared now. Okay, can we just
No,
establish a very key
because
point?
you won't listen.
Scared now, he said, voice
Okay.
quivering.
Are you all ready for this? Are you ready?
I'm terrified.
So Justin's point is that we should listen to certain quotes directly from Jesus, and his points are more verifiable than other people that wrote about Jesus,
Nope.
even though Jesus didn't write any of the Bible.
Nope.
And every single
Nope.
part of the
That's
Bible
not my point.
are different people writing accounts
That's not my
about
point.
Jesus.
That's not my
So
point.
why are you saying that some
That's not my
people's
point.
accounts are more? Okay, then what's the point?
My point is Jesus' words aren't recorded by Paul, dummy.
Okay. So
I'm
do
I'm
you
not
think that-
asking you which account is more authoritative. I'm asking you for the words he spoke. I don't care who gave the account. I'm asking for the words.
So even if somebody didn't quote Jesus, do you think that they are allowed to write about what they think he was establishing if they spent time with him? Yes or no?
They're allowed to, and Paul didn't spend any time
You
with
think
Jesus.
Paul spent time with Jesus?
Oof.
Do you think that Paul? Okay, understanding Paul's
Do you think
relationship.
Paul spent time with Jesus like you just implied?
I'm not only talking about Paul in general. I'm establishing that even if people don't quote Jesus directly, that doesn't mean they're not allowed to write about their interpretation of Jesus's teachings.
Oh boy.
Could you find me an example of words that are attributed to Jesus wherein he abolishes the old covenant? That's what we're looking for.
Well, are we pulling up Galatians? Yes or no? By Paul.
Does Galatians attribute words to Jesus?
Galatians references how the new covenant was established and
I
why
asked you a
Christians don't
yes
need
or
to
no
follow the Mosaic
question.
law.
Does Galatians attribute words to Jesus? Yes or no?
Depending on the way that you're saying, interpreting, they don't quote Jesus directly, but they speak about
Cool.
Jesus' purpose on the earth.
Cool, thank you. So then this wouldn't fall under the criteria that Justin is asking you for.
Okay, so Justin's criteria is saying the only way is that we have to find one of the writers of Jesus and pull a direct quote from him, rather than there's
Yes.
many people.
Because you know what,
Do you realize
Christopher, do you know
there are
what my
many teachings
Christopher, do you remember what my claim is? The claim
Your
hasn't
claim.
changed for the last half hour. Do you remember what it is?
Your claim is that you think that Jesus did not abolish the law and that all Christians need to continue to follow the Mosaic law, which is just
Nope.
incorrect.
That's not my claim. You want to try again?
Then feel free to stake your claim again.
My claim is that both Yahweh and Jesus disagree with Pauline theology on the point of the law. Both Yahweh and Jesus say that you're going to follow the law forever until heaven and earth pass away. It's not until people after Jesus that we have any idea that the law is going to be going away.
But the point in question with that claim is which law is Jesus referring to?
There's only one.
And Christians believe, the whole point of Christianity is that we believe Jesus is establishing a new covenant and a new law with God through his coming.
Then
and
show
also
me that in Jesus'
invites-
words.
And that invites all Gentiles into
Then
the new
show
law,
me
not the
that
Mosaic
in
law.
Jesus' words.
So have you pulled up Galatians? Are you going to show everyone Galatians or not?
I read Galatians. You weren't listening. Jesus'
Why are you afraid
words.
to show this to your audience.
Jesus
Why are
is.
you afraid to show this to
I
your
already read it. You weren't listening.
No, you read a totally different part of Galatians than I'm even willing to show.
Are Jesus'
Seems
words
like you're-
Are
So-
Jesus'
so
words
Justin is
recorded?
specifically afraid to
Are
show you certain
Jesus'
parts that don't-
words? Are Jesus' words recorded in Galatians? Yes or no?
Okay, you have avoided a specific part of the Bible for 10
Buddy,
minutes now.
I don't even know what part you're referring to
Well, exactly. So why don't we pull it up?
because I got it up already. What do you want to read?
Okay, Galatians 3:1 through.
I have no idea why he thinks this is going to be helpful. You foolish Galatians, who has bewitched you? It was before your eyes that Jesus Christ was publicly exhibited as crucified. The only thing I want to learn from you is this: did you receive the Spirit by doing the works of the law or by believing in what you have heard? Are you so foolish? You have started with the
This is talking about
Spirit.
you. This
I'm
is
sorry.
specifically talking about you.
Is this Jesus's words or Paul?
This is
I'm sorry.
them
Is
talking
just
about you directly.
Jesus's words or Paul?
Just keep reading.
So the answer is
It's
just
Paul.
Paul's words. Gotcha. So I
It's
asked you
Paul.
for Jesus's words. Can you find
This is
those?
Paul talking about you.
I'm asking for Jesus'
Wait,
words. Can you find them?
Oh, he took it down. He took it down because he knew he was wrong.
I'm not wrong. I asked you for Jesus' words.
Yeah, the claim is very simple. Jesus never says that he's getting rid of the law. That's the claim. That's been the claim for the last 30 minutes. But I grant, because Justin has slammed you so hard, you probably have a concussion, which is why you're not capable of actually keeping the point in your mind. What point do you think is being made right now?
Justin is so afraid to read it because he knows that
Which point do you think Justin is making right now? Stop short-circuiting. Nobody cares about your meta commentary. What we're interested in is you tracking the conversation.
Which verse
What do you
specifically proves
think
me wrong?
Justin's point is currently?
Okay, Justin, will you continue to read it, please?
What
He's
point?
not going to answer that question.
Yeah, first, what point do you think you're proving me wrong on?
The point that Jesus is establishing a new covenant and doing away with the old
There
laws.
you go. And I asked you for Jesus's words, and you're in Galatians?
We're in Galatians.
Okay, and where in Galatians can I find Jesus's words?
Why don't we first finish reading this and then we'll talk about that.
I read the
Just answer
entire book.
question.
Where
He's
in Galatians?
never going to answer that question, by the way.
Why
He'll
will you
never
not
do
finish
in
the passage that I'm
Galatians
referencing?
are there Jesus's words? Point us to the verse where Jesus's words appear in Galatians.
Okay. So I think that you're misunderstanding the reason I'm pulling up Galatians, and all
Yeah.
accounts are extremely important.
Okay,
and
they're not important.
This is
Sure, he just self-owned. Let's
Okay.
ask them the question until he finally admits what we all know.
Okay.
Where in
Why-
Galatians
you
do
think that
Jesus's
Paul's
words
accounts are not
appear?
important.
That's a dodge. Where in Galatians do Jesus's words appear?
Okay. I don't know why we're getting distracted from what I
That's
asked.
a
which is just
dodge.
the reading of the
Where
passage.
in Galatians
No, you
do
all are the ones
Jesus's
dodging.
words?
You all
Well,
didn't
calm
even
down
finish
there.
the
Just
passages I'm
relax.
specifically asking, and
Christopher, just calm
you're trying to
down.
create an extra dodge
Relax.
by dodging what my
Where in
request was.
Galatians do
Dodge number
Jesus's
3.
words appear? Calm down, take a deep breath, and tell us, where in Galatians do Jesus's words appear?
So Jesus' teachings are reflected in Galatians. That's the purpose of Galatians, and that's the
Where
purpose of why
do
I
his words appear?
Okay, so are you saying that Jesus couldn't have said anything unless it
Where
was
do
only quoted in the
his
Bible?
words appear in
Ian,
Galatians?
You're distracting
Just
from the
well,
important
calm
aspects.
down.
So are you
Answer
saying
the
okay.
question. Stop short-circuiting. Where in
I'm happy to answer the
Galatians
question.
do Jesus's words appear? Just say the answer that everybody, me, you, Justin, the audience, say the answer that we all already know. The longer you avoid the answer, you're just going to look more and more delusional. Where in Galatians do Jesus's words appear?
Okay, this is hilarious, Ian, because why
So,
would they
dodge
include
number
Galatians
6.
in the Bible
There
if
you
they
go.
don't
Dodge
think
number
it's
in
important to the teachings of
Galatians
Jesus?
do Jesus's words appear? Where?
They talk about Jesus' teachings throughout Galatians.
Dodge
Where
number
do
7.
his words appear?
There are many books in the Bible that do not quote Jesus directly.
Where do his words appear?
They don't quote Jesus directly his
Thank
words.
you.
Okay,
So
there you go.
nowhere. So
So-
the answer is nowhere. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what we
Okay, so
needed. It's crazy that you have to pry it
You
out
all
of them.
understand that there are so many parts in the Bible that don't quote Jesus directly but discuss his teachings? That's the entire purpose of the Bible. There's a reason they included them. That's the whole point of the Bible.
Well, the funny thing is, I've got Jesus' teachings in the gospel, and he disagrees with Paul, as we already
Then
saw.
why would
Yeah,
they include Galatians? Okay, why would they include Galatians in
Because-
the Bible if they didn't want us to use it?
because
So what you're trying to say
Galatians
is that-
was written prior to the Gospels. They had no idea Jesus' teachings in the Gospels because they weren't published, and people couldn't fucking read.
Okay,
Paul-
so you
Paul's
think they
writing
included
to the
Galatians for no
Galatians-
reason in the Bible?
Paul writing the Galatians predates the Gospels by at least a decade and a half, if not 3 decades. They have no idea that there was a contradiction. They weren't reading the book because they didn't have the book. You're not reading the book because you're lazy.
So why do you think the people who put together the Bible included Galatians? Why do you think they included it? For what purpose?
Because they believed it was an authentic epistle. The same reason why they included James, even though James disagrees with Paul as well.
Okay, and if they think that it's an authentic epistle, then are the teachings important? Yes or no?
Yes, but are they Jesus's teachings?
Okay, do they reflect the teachings of Christ? Yes or no?
No, because they disagree with the
You saying
teachings
they
of
don't
Christ.
reflect the teachings of
Yeah.
Christ.
We've
So
already
here's the
demonstrated
question.
this.
I've
So now-
formulated the
so we're getting
question.
more
He's
clear.
never
We're
going
getting
to
more
answer
clear.
this
So
one
your
simple
your
question.
actual
So what I'm going to do,
in
I'm going to
general
stick on this
is that-
one simple question. The question is
this is great. No, we're at a
Where
really
does
beautiful point.
Jesus say in his own words that he's getting rid of the law? Where is that?
Well, if you're not going to read it, then we're not going to pull it up.
Where does Jesus say in his
I've just
own
given
words
you a specific.
that he's getting
You
rid of
haven't
the
even
law? Now
read
you've
the
contradicted
references I'm
yourself
sharing.
because you've already admitted that nowhere in Galatians do Jesus's words appear, which means that you've now contradicted yourself because you're saying that this is both Jesus's words and not Jesus's words. The question is very specific. Where does Jesus say in his own words that he's getting rid of the law? Where is that?
Okay, well, we already pulled that up earlier where it talks about hanging all the laws on these two commandments, and that was Jesus' direct quote.
He didn't
Yes or
say
no?
they're going anywhere.
Okay, so we have a difference
not
in
him getting rid of
interpretation
them.
on what Jesus specifically
Show me.
said.
Show
But
me.
then-
No, we
but
don't.
Then, if we have a difference in interpretation, shouldn't we pull up?
Well,
No,
just
we
calm
don't.
down there. Where does Jesus say in his own words that he's getting rid of the law? It's not Galatians. His own words don't appear in Galatians. It's not Romans. His own words don't appear in Romans. It's not Matthew. He doesn't get rid of the law in Matthew. So where does Jesus say in his own words that he's getting rid of the law? Where is that?
Yeah, we've got your passage pulled up, Matthew 22. Show me which verse in here he says that the law is going away. He's still yapping. Could you imagine having to like run into this guy in real life?
22:40.
I'm sorry, Matthew 22:40. Which
Yes.
which word in here indicates that the law is going away?
Okay, so do you have it pulled up?
It's on the screen.
Okay, and what does it say out loud?
On these commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Did he say they're going anywhere?
Okay. On these commandments hang all the law. So that's
right.
So right now what we're discussing is that we have a difference in interpretation of what Jesus' direct quote is.
I'm,
Yes or
I'm
no?
asking you which word in this sentence indicates that the law is going away.
Yeah.
Hang all the law. On
Yep.
these two commandments hang all the law.
Yeah,
So
what
if he's
part
saying
says
all
that they're
the
going
law is in
away?
These two commandments.
What
hang
part
all
says
the
that they're
law.
going away?
He'll never answer that question.
Okay. So it's fine, but what we're right
Still
now
waiting.
what we're having is
He's not going to answer. Watch him not answer.
He'll never
Which
answer.
word? Point out the word that says that they're going away.
okay. So if I create two rules and I say this is all the law,
He's not going to. He's not going to answer.
this is Jesus' direct quote. Yes.
Yeah, it's a direct quote from Jesus. So where
these-
in that
on
does it
these
say,
two-
which
so
word
if you-
specifically does it say the law is going away? Just answer.
When he says on these two commandments
Mhm.
hang all of the law and
That's
the
what the
prophets.
verse says. Which word indicates that the law is going away?
Okay, so most Christians, which is different than a Jew,
He'll never
which is
say
different
it.
than people that don't.
He'll never
He
say
just
it.
won't answer. He's
No,
allergic.
because you're
Which
your
word?
question doesn't even make sense.
You're short circuiting. Which
I'm not.
word
I'm not
indicates
short-circuiting
that
at
the
all.
law
This
is
is what
going
you're
away?
afraid of,
Let's just
Ian.
calm
You're
down
afraid of
there,
me
mouth
establishing
breather.
multiple
Just
things.
relax. Chill out.
Okay.
Which word?
Okay.
Point to the word. What's the word that
Okay.
indicates that the law is going away?
Well, if we pull up Galatians 3, 1 through
No,
14.
we're not in
that's all-
Galatians.
Words
we're in
don't
Matthew.
appear in Galatians. You're
Okay.
short-circuiting.
So you all are
Which
creating
word
an
in
argument
Matthew
that doesn't make
does
logical
he
sense.
say it's going away? Which word is indicated that?
Well, there's other parts of the Bible that reference this directly.
No,
Sure,
it's
wait, so
not.
you failed to demonstrate it with Matthew, failed to demonstrate it with Galatians.
No.
Where would you like to pivot to
I did not
next?
fail to
Let's go
demonstrate-
back to
this
the
verse
initial
directly even shows
question.
that all of the
Whoa,
law of
let's
Christian
just calm
teaching
down
hangs
there.
on these
Just
two
chill
laws.
out. Just relax. Where does Jesus
Yes,
say in his
Dane,
own
that's what I'm
words that
saying,
he's
Dane, you are
getting
correct.
rid of the law? Where?
Matthew, that
You already got dunked
okay,
on
the
that
first,
one
Ian, you are the worst because you interrupt people constantly. You never shut up.
because
You
you're
literally never shut
not
up.
going to
Ian,
answer the
just please learn to
question, and
stop
if you
talking
don't,
because you don't know the Bible. It's okay that you don't know the Bible.
boo-hoo. No one
Ian,
cares.
I'm not
Where
crying
does
at all.
stop crying?
Ian
Where
gets
does
so scared
Jesus
of me because
calm
he knows that
down?
I can refute
Just
his actual dumb
relax.
arguments.
Chill out, mouth breather. Just calm down. Where does Jesus say in his own words that he's getting rid of the law? That's the question.
The one we just read. The one we
No,
just
it
read.
doesn't. Which word indicates that he's
Yes.
getting rid of it?
We're still waiting. What part of
Matthew
this sentence?
22:40.
What part of this
word
sentence says anything's going
indicates-
away?
Mhm.
Oh no, the live visibility has been restricted for 10 minutes. Your live is not eligible for recommendation and restricted in search results for the next 10 minutes because Christopher Salanta does not comply with your community guidelines. The restriction will be removed once they are disconnected. Reason, harassment, and bullying. And also,
Oh my
I would
God.
add being an
Is this all
absolute
recorded?
fucking
Is this all
tool.
recorded?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I
is.
bet TikTok Live, it's not appropriate to do spanking on TikTok Live. I bet that's probably what it was.
That's what it was. Yeah. Well, I think we had enough of that bad faith interlocutor. Let's see. I got to put some notes in here so we make sure to clip this guy later. I'll write down asshat has never read the Bible and can't find Jesus's words. Okay, cool. Fair enough. Okay. Well, friends, let me grab a couple super chats and we'll get our next guest in here. Mr. Payco, thank you so much for the $50 super chat. Really appreciate that, big friend. It says, I had to go pet my kitties for about 30 minutes straight after this guy called the other day because he was so annoying. I know. He's really one of the... Not only is he annoying, but he thinks he's doing something. Can't think of a more satisfying resolution than seeing Justin rhetorically pile drive him on the Bible. It's always fun to me when people they want to assert dominance on something they have no knowledge of, and to watch them flail about in attempting to do so. And Nightman says there's a fair share of Christian LOL cows coming up today. That is the case. We got some law cows up in the conversations. And Carissa, thank you so much, my friend, for sending out 10 unapologetic gifted memberships. I really appreciate that. And to everybody asking, did I drop the guest? Yeah, I had to fucking drop the guest. TikTok banned him and said if I didn't drop him, they're going to stop showing our live stream out because he got flagged. So yeah, I'm dropping the idiot. He had nothing to say anyways. Discordant says, W, Ian, and Justin for syncing rhetoric to keep time, space, matter discussion as simple as possible, instructive, and more than fair to dishonest guests. Yeah, we've had some interesting levels of dishonesty this morning already. Juno says, hey, I'm an atheist. I think that God is improbable. Do you guys refuse the probability of or the possibility of a creator? I catch myself sometimes thinking there is always a possibility. Does that make me agnostic?
So technically, I think you could probably classify yourself as atheist if you think that there's an extremely low probability or like basically no possibility of one. An agnostic doesn't even make like the probabilistic claim, but if you look to the way that the word is used in the literature, you'll see people who are atheists, and what establishes to them atheism are things like the evidential problem of evil, which isn't like a deductive argument. It doesn't rule out the possibility. It just states that there's like a very low probability of it. Or people like Graham Oppie, who say that we should believe that God doesn't exist just on the basis that it is more parsimonious, which is basically just like Occam's razor. If we can explain things just as well without God, then there's no reason to try to explain things with God. So I think that you could probably call yourself an atheist with that. Although, you know, it's up to you. I mean, people use words in different ways. So if you'd rather call yourself an agnostic, that's fine.
I think so. Also, on probability, I think that like, even if it is possible, I think we have to ask ourselves, should we believe in things just because it's possible? Because there's a lot of things that could be possible. But whether or not we should have a belief in it just because it's possible, I think is a different question.
Mm-hmm.
Kane says, Ian, I need a video of your debate with this guy. Shit was hilarious.
Yeah, I think I might post it. Or I mean, you know, it's already in like the replay. So in order to post it, I would need to go through and throw up onto the screen like all the various times where I reference like a notepad or something of that sort. I think that there are like particularly boring parts of the conversation between me and that guy because he cited like a bunch of articles and then I read them from start to finish right there in front of the audience to demonstrate that they didn't prove his point in any way, shape, or form. So I don't know. There's like some boring parts to that, but I think I'd consider it. It's definitely one there that's on my might post as a video list.
Yeah. I'm going to grab one more super chat that we're going to get another guest in here. Chip says, I thought Sapiens got cooked to ash, but Christopher is so crispy. We need to redefine the scale to accommodate him. He's comedy gold, though. Rock hard for Doug, Smooth for Sharon. Yeah, I think some people find those conversations kind of comedic, and some people find them probably exasperating. I think it just depends on your level of tolerance. Okay. Let me grab our next guest. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out who was in here the longest. And unfortunately, I don't know who's been here the longest. Christopher came back. He wants to come back up. I don't know why you think that's going to happen, Christopher. But I think left-leaning infantry was in the queue longest, so we'll get left-leaning. Oh, or not? Okay, well, they dropped pretty quick. I guess that's not happening. So I guess we'll try the next one. Let's try Soliloquy. Maybe? Maybe? I think it connected that time. Yeah, how you doing? Are you at least 18 and do you believe in God?
Yes, and I believe in God.
Awesome. And which God do you believe in?
Christian.
Cool. And what do you think is the best argument or piece of evidence for God?
Well, before we get into that, when we say, well, is God not real or real, in a sense, how to define real, it's going to be existing. So does God exist, right, in a sense? So, but basically, what we mean
I'm so
by
sorry to
being,
cut you off,
well, I'm a
but to
semantic
clarify,
internalist.
typically when we say God exists or God doesn't exist, we're speaking specifically about like a mind-independent way as well. Like we would agree God exists in like a fictional sense. We disagree that he exists in like a real sense. You know, he's not existence in like a mind-independent sense.
Yeah, I disagree with that only because, well, I just get that meaning of like existence because I'm a semantic internalist. So I find it to be the case that the definitions or definiendum will be upon the agent. And I would consider an agent as some kind of volitional entity that has some kind of dysastic attitude, etc. So when I say existence, I mean some kind of modes of being under monogenism, which would be the existence or substance sense. Because I can conceptually think of God, which would be a substance sense. I find it to be the case that God exists. It's going to be a response.
Well, then we just don't disagree on anything. You know, if you're a Meinongian and you just think like fictional entities are real, you know, if you think the existent squared circle is existent, you know, that's fine, I guess. But we don't disagree insofar as we would both agree that he's like a fictional entity.
Okay, so I'm saying it's not gonna be a fictional entity because, well, when they say exist under the what's it called under the modes of being, it doesn't posit he's gonna be fictional entities because they're fictional. Obviously, they don't exist at all, or they have no kind of anything, no kind of properties, nothing can be instantiated, no onticness.
Do you think Superman is fictional?
I think Superman's fictional.
Yeah.
No. under monoganism, no. It's gonna be a response.
Okay, I take that as a reductio.
Yeah.
Under monoganism, no. It's gonna be a response.
Sorry, wait, do you think the existent squared circle exists? I can ask you the question that Bertrand Russell ended Meinong's entire career with. Do you think the existent squared circle exists?
I'm a God atheist too. Yeah, what's going to be a response?
So you think this existent squared circle exists? So you affirm contradictions?
Okay, yeah, what's going to be a response? Like,
yeah, contradictions are false, big dog.
Yo, what's going? Oh my God!
This guy got spawn killed. Holy shit!
Can you provide the
argument? This guy thought maybe if you said a bit more, jargon words, you know, maybe if you packed your sentences full of more philosophy words, it actually would have gone well for you. I'm so sorry. You know, contradictions are false. You can just write out the truth table for the law of non-contradiction.
Okay, seems to be the case that this guy's not tracking. He doesn't want to actually answer the question. So I'm going to
let's just calm down there, mouth breather. Just relax.
What's going to be the argument in favor of the proposition for why contradictions are false?
Yeah, it's just true by the definition of the word and the word not. That if you write out the truth table for and you write out the truth table for not, in all of the instances where you have P and not P, it's going to evaluate as false because either P is true and not P is false, in which case true and false is false, or P is false and not P is true, in which case false and true is false, which means that the only circumstances where you have P and not P are false ones.
So, just be clear, do you think this argument is valid per chance?
I can formalize it for you if you'd like.
Well, then I would have to ask you for a theory of argumentation. You hold to a theory of argumentation?
No, I don't hold to a theory of argumentation.
Then I don't know how you're going to formalize the argument despite not having a theory of argumentation.
So we could write it down like this. So premise 1, either for any P and not
That is a
P,
theory of
either it's
argumentation.
going to be the case that P evaluates to true and not P evaluates to false, or P evaluates to false, in which case not P evaluates to true. If it's the first case, then that's false. True and false is false. And if it's the second case, then that's false, because false and true is false. Thus, in every instance, it's going to be false.
Yo, I'm gonna let you know right now. Okay, yeah, so that is a theory of argumentation. That's going to be the Aristotelian theory of argumentation, which has the premises and conclusion. Also listed out one premise and not the other premises in the conclusion. That's going to be enthymeme argumentation also. What's going to be your response?
It's a 3-premise argument. Which one do you reject?
Okay, so like I said before, that presupposes the Aristotelian theory of argumentation, but you said you didn't hold to an theory of argumentation. So I want you to
I'm
motivate the view.
agnostic to it. I might hold to a view, but not know what the name of the view is. For
Okay,
example,
so
you could think like ethics are subjective, or, ethics are just like what you think they are, but not know the term subjective or subjectivism. And you would still be a subjectivist. You just wouldn't know what it's called. But which premise do you reject?
Well, me rejecting the premise presuppose that was a system of Aristotelian theory of argumentation, regardless, like I said before. So can you motivate this view, which is going to be the premises? Why should we hold to premise? Why can't I be a dialectical topologist?
By asking for the premises, you've already presupposed the view.
I didn't ask for the premise. I asked for the argument.
Yes, you literally just did play the recording back. You asked, what's the first premise? Whoa, now he's freaking the fuck out because he realized that he actually just dunked on himself. You did ask for the premise. You asked, what's premise 1 in the argument? You can just replay. You can replay the recording. It's all live streamed to YouTube.
Okay, do it right now. When you do it, I want you to pull up where it says me saying verbatim. What is going to be the first premise?
Justin, do you have the capability to replay?
I don't think I do on my rig, not with my current set of software. I can get a plugin for the next stream that'll do it though.
That's fine. Then this can just be a thing that exists within the recording itself. Well, let's just calm down there, mouth breather. Just relax.
I could try using the web browser. Accommodate him. Let me check. He's comedy gold though. Rock hard for Doug's move for sure. Do you hear audio doubling right now? Find those conversations kind of comedic. What if some people find them back a little bit?
Are the teachings important? Yes or no?
Yes, but are they Jesus's
hear
teachings? Any other kind? I don't think I could do it.
Do they reflect the teachings of Christ?
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding the guest. Is the guest affirming that something can exist and not exist at the same time, and the laws of logic just don't apply?
No. Well, what I'm actually arguing here is that I'm arguing under monoganism, which is going to be like these different modes of being, which is going to be it's how we possibly be existence. So we know being obviously going to be existence in a sense. So I can say, well, God does exist because I can think of God, right? Which is going to be substances, which is going to be response. And then I know you might think it's dumb, but he can respond, right? He try to give a reductio or give like an argument in favor of the proposition for why like dialectic is going to be false, etc. But then I asked him for a theory of argumentation. He said, oh no, I don't have one. And then proceeds to lay out a theory of argumentation. Okay, listen. Regards to the
That's
situation,
just going to be a tracking failure on your part.
But you're not
By the
actually
way,
asking to
soliloquy, you are like unironically why people hate
ask you
philosophy
for
and hate people that are interested in philosophy. It's people like you, people who haven't read a single book in your entire life about this topic, who instead of doing that, hang out on Discord and gather up like all of the jargon and then try to come on and like jargon spam towards people while getting completely dunked on. You are like the reason why people dislike philosophy. Like you make the landscape worse for all of us.
Can you motivate for why we should hold to the premises and the conclusion?
And when you say motivate, what do you mean by that?
I mean, motivate, I means provide something for why we should actually
provide something. Which something?
Yes. Well, some
What
things
sort of
can be
something
reasons.
are you looking for?
Okay, it can be reasons or some other like
Reasons. So like
reasons,
premises?
justifications, etc. No.
Justifications like
Okay, wait.
premises,
Now
like a
if you say,
valid
hold on,
inference rule, for
if I wouldn't,
example.
hold on, if
Whoa,
I
let's
wouldn't
just
extra
calm
premises,
down there. Just chill the
please,
fuck
no.
out. When you say justifications, what do you take a justification to be?
Well, to be justification, just be providing some proof for said thing.
A proof, like one with premises?
No, because that'd be circular.
So what would a proof, what would be entailed by a proof? You mean something like a valid inference rule? Like, would you agree that a proof follows a valid inference rule, or what do you take a proof to be?
An inference rule. Listen, if it was an inference rule, then it would still fall into what's it called being begging the question, because all this still follows under the premises what you're using right now. Premises, conclusion, and the inference rule. That's gonna fall under the Aristotelian format.
Yeah.
I'm asking you to motivate.
When you say
because you're
proof,
already
what do you
presupposing this
mean
is-
by that? What are you asking for?
I define proof as like providing some kind of inquiry on the position. Watch define
Some kind of inquiry, like a question?
No, not
When you
much.
say
Well, sure, it could be a question, but not really much of a question. I mean, in a sense, it can be like if you know arithmetic logic, inference arithmetic logic, you can consider like these questions as like reasons. You can like have like an arithmetic inference, etc.
so when you say proof, your definition was what? It was like providing an inquiry in favor of the proposition?
Yeah, no, it can provide further inquiry on something. So it can be like knowledge. So when we ask questions, we're trying to gather knowledge or whatever. And I also said,
You
well,
think-
it could also just be a normal question, or it could also be a normal question because like inference or arithmetic logic. So I said also.
I'm not asking for an example. I'm asking like what would be the semantic reduction on proof?
My fault. Say that one more time.
Yeah, what would the semantic reduction of proof be?
I just explained it to you, bro. I don't know what you're.
No, you didn't. You gave a bunch of examples.
Hold on.
I'm not asking for examples.
No. I said providing for the inquiry and did not provide an example. Oh, no example? Okay, if you don't want the example, that's fine. Can I also still provide it where I define it to be the case as in the
Okay.
first place?
What do you define an inquiry to be?
Yo, this guy just like going down and down and down and down the list.
Yeah, because you're eventually going to get to the fact that it's propositions. You're talking about premises. And earlier in the conversation, you blundered and you even said premises.
Dialectical topologists.
Dialectical topologist. What does that
Yes,
mean?
it means I hold to the abstract Dunk theory of argumentation, which means there's going to be that it's like weird content. Well, there's other content like premises, the conclusion, the inference rule, the valid, invalid. It's going to be A attacks B, B attacks A, and then C attacks B. Rather.
And how would you motivate that?
Whoa, wait. You're still going to have to motivate your view. Just ask me the question.
Sorry, wait.
Right now, I'm actually.
I want to know how you would motivate a thing like that. When I look up dialectical topologists, apparently this is a thing that you just made up yourself. Is this a view that's held by people?
Oh, I did?
So it seems to be that way, yeah. Is there a specific person who holds to this?
Look up the Dunk. Are you lost? Look up the abstract.
I'm
Dunk
just
theory of
asking you,
argumentation.
is there a person that
I
holds
said
to
yes.
this, or
Are you,
did you just make this up?
Look up the abstract Dunk theory of argumentation.
Abstractum theory of argumentation?
Yes, the abstract Dunk theory of argumentation.
Theory of argumentation. How do you spell that?
Yo, this guy. This guy gets what theory of
Abstractum?
argumentation. Nah,
Because
I'm
when I
I'm
type in
this guy's
abstractum theory of argumentation, I actually don't get anything. I must have misheard you, to be honest. Oh, he ran.
Oh. Wow. They cooked everyone so hard. Oh no. Okay. I gotta be honest, I didn't hear most of his words because he was talking too fast and uncontrollably. Oh,
Yeah,
it's a
this is
shame.
what Discord does to the brain, unfortunately.
Is this how
you
people
know.
debate on Discord?
Yeah, it's like the meta among people who don't actually read. Like they'll just go in and jargon spam at you, hoping that you like drown underneath the jargon. And to be clear, I actually do think that like a lot of my skills do come from like the Discord debate style. Like there's one really valuable debate skill is being able to call your opponent like a series of protracted insults until they answer the question. And that's something that you can develop on Discord. I think it's a useful skill, to be honest.
Actually, I do tend to like it. Maybe maybe I'll adopt that practice. Oh, hey kitty. All right,
Takes a lot of practice, but yeah.
We got time for maybe one more short guest, and then we've got to read some super chats and prepare for other streams later today. So let me grab our next guest real quick. I think I'm not sure who was in here next. I'm going to grab Autismal Equinox. How you doing, Equinox? Are you at least 18, and do you believe in God?
I did not mean to request.
Oh, no worries. We'll take care of it. Cheers.
Also a useful skill at Christmas dinner, someone said in chat. That's funny.
All right, we'll get see if they'll connect. Odal. Maybe. Maybe. They're not connecting. All right, we'll move on to the next one. Maybe Chuck. There we go. Welcome in, Chuck. Are you at least 18, and do you believe in God?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And which God do you believe in?
I don't know for sure which one. I just believe there's a God.
Okay, so you don't believe that Jesus is God?
I'm not saying he can't be. I just don't know that I accept that yet.
Okay, so you're not a Christian.
Correct.
Okay, so then you don't have a problem, like committing blasphemy of the Holy Spirit?
What you choose to do is your business.
No, you
May I ask,
do you think
two questions
do you think
to have
you
a
would
more
do you think
interesting conversation than the previous callers have had?
do you think you would commit blasphemy of the Holy Spirit, being that you're not a Christian?
What I don't believe in, how do I commit? I don't understand.
Just say Jesus.
How do I commit a sin?
Just say Jesus is. Just say Jesus is not Lord, and Yahweh is not God, and we'll move forward.
May I ask a question to have a more interesting conversation?
You're more than welcome to after you actually engage in what I'm saying, which is that I think you're pretending to not be a Christian for the sake of conversation because you don't want to talk about the Bible. So what I'm doing is forcing you to be honest. Like if you don't want to talk about Bible, that's fine, but don't come up here and lie to us, right?
No, I am not.
So then say out of your mouth, I don't believe that Jesus is Lord, and I don't believe that the God of the Bible is real.
I don't believe Jesus is Lord. I won't go to the second one because I don't know that the God of the Bible, because that includes both Christian and Hebrew, and I don't know that I can say that one and be correct. Because as I said, I believe there's a God. I just haven't decided on which one.
Fair enough. All right, go ahead.
Answer. All right,
Good enough.
So let me start out. Is this a conversation on philosophical belief in God? Because your thing out there is God isn't real, correct?
I mean, it totally could be. It's whatever angle you'd like to approach it from.
Okay.
We're just trying to figure out whether or not God exists, and there's kind of a number of entryways into that conversation.
So, no, you're asserting God isn't real. That's your comment up there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay. So, have you published this and gotten this accepted somewhere?
Why wouldn't we publish it?
Of course, I mean.
Nope.
What?
It's a debate.
No. So this is just.
There already are philosophers who have, right?
This is just opinions.
Chuck,
nothing more.
We know this is opinions. I don't know if you're confused about how the internet works. This is opinions. So.
No, I'm not confused about how the internet works.
Do you have evidence that God is real? Do you have an argument for God being real? Either one.
Do I have any argument?
Do you have any good reasons to believe that God is real? Yes or no?
That's why I asked.
Do you have any good reasons to believe that God is real? Yes or no?
Are there good reasons to believe God is real?
Yeah.
We're asking if you have any.
That's up to the individual.
I'm asking you. You're the individual I'm asking. Do you have any good reason?
The universe exists. There is no found answer
we agree.
That supports the universe having to exist. There's no found reason it shouldn't.
We agree the universe exists. What does this have to do with God existing?
Well, it's just opinions now because that's what we've already
We
established.
agree this is opinion. So do you have anything that would warrant your opinion being correct?
You haven't published anything, so there's
Well,
no
do you want me
proof
to cite somebody who has published something? Would that make you
versus
happy?
another opinion. It's like everything else.
Do you want me to tell you who my argument for God's non-existence derives from? This is a person. Well, let's just calm down there. Just relax. So the argument that I make against God's existence comes from Wes Morriston, who's a philosopher that has published.
So you accept all of his views?
I accept this one specific argument.
That seems like a fairly chosen one that meets your need rather than something of actual philosophical merit.
My need of searching out the true thing, certainly. Yeah, I pick out the argument that is true in order to arrive at further truths. That's definitely something that I do.
How is that established truth?
It's established insofar as the argument is true, all the premises are true. It follows a valid inference rule, which means that the argument itself is sound. So we can infer the truth of the conclusion that God doesn't exist.
That's one person's opinion. We can agree.
Well, maybe you can run him through an argument and see if he disagrees with any premises.
Let's go ahead and let's ask a question.
Yeah, so premise one, either God's willing the universe is eternal, or it's not the case that God's willing the universe is eternal. Of course, if God willing the universe is eternal, then that means that the universe just would have eternally existed. Of course, that means that God never created it, which means that God wouldn't exist. The alternative is that God was not eternally willing the universe. And if that's the case, then the implication of that is that God would have needed to change. But of course, God can't change if he's outside of time, which means that either way you slice it, a God can't exist. That's the argument. Which premise do you reject?
Who knows what you're saying?
You probably should have
I wasn't
listened.
listening to you, to be quite frank.
Yeah, we knew that.
I grant that. So which premise do you reject?
Which is what I care about.
We just disproved God. I'm sorry that you don't have anything to say about that. Calm down and tell me which premise you reject. Sure. Yeah, I'm not going to engage in the dialectic. I'm not interested in truth, little boy. I don't care about what's true and what's not. I already have my conclusions.
Watching a grown man plug his ears and say, la la la, I'm not listening to you is the craziest thing on my December bingo card. I did not know that that was going to be the situation of this morning.
I answered your question.
I could not imagine literally plugging my ears and shouting, la la la, I'm not listening to you while someone's talking.
Because you won't answer my questions.
No one even heard your question.
What's your question?
Until you respect my request, I will not respect yours. That's not
sure. What's your question?
I asked you about had you published anything. You
said no, I've already answered that question. I've said no. So I did answer the question. You just contradicted yourself. You said, I haven't answered your questions, which means that you're not going to answer any of mine. And then the question that you're bringing up that I didn't answer, you literally say I did answer the question. What a self-dunk. Whoa, let's just calm down there, Chuck. You're embarrassing yourself. Just relax, Chuck. Calm down, Chuck. You sound like a mouth breather. You sound like a Neanderthal, Chuck. Just calm down. Or should I call you Grug? Chill out.
I gotta be honest.
Answered the question. You already conceded that I've answered the question.
I'm starting to think that this guy's a Christian because he's really behaving like all the Christians we've talked with.
Yeah. This guy seems like he's snorted quite a bit of the Holy Spirit.
That certainly would be the case. Have you published, Chuck? Chuck, have you published?
Not in the area of religion, but yes.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay, so you have to publish in the area of philosophy to have an opinion?
No. I asked the question because I saw.
Oh, okay. So is it okay to reference something that somebody else published, Chuck?
What?
Is it acceptable to reference another publication?
Of course it is.
Okay, so Ian hasn't published in philosophy, but he reads philosophy and is referencing something that is published in philosophy. What's the problem with that?
I don't have a per se problem with it.
Okay,
That's
then
his
why do
opinion.
you keep asking
That's
why
what I
he
said.
why
That
do
is
you
his
keep
opinion.
asking if he's published anything?
I went to go recap to go to the next
Why
question,
do
and
you keep
stopped me.
asking if he's published anything?
I asked it once. I then went to the recap
Why
to
did you
discuss
ask it,
moving
Chuck?
forward.
Chuck, why did you ask it?
Because it's to understand what his basis for his assessment is.
Gotcha. You want to know if he's got credentials.
Correct.
Okay, do you have credentials?
Not in the area of religion other than personal faith.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You just said you don't have personal faith.
Oh no, I said I believe there's a God.
This guy's a liar, is what he is.
Trying to narrow it down.
No, this guy can't tell the truth. So just to be clear, this is just your opinion then, since you're unpublished?
Correct, of course.
Awesome. And do you think that people that are published are publishing their opinion as well?
At times, yes. At times, no. I would have to read the specific to make a deeper comment.
Yeah, if I publish something, it is in fact my opinion typically. If I'm making an argument, I'm making a case for something and I publish it, that's my opinion. I'm agreeing that this is my opinion. Unless I'm specifically disagreeing with something, then my opinion would be the inverse of whatever I'm disagreeing with. So publishing something has nothing to do with whether or not somebody's argument is sound.
No, it's just opinions. That's what I'm driving at. And
some opinions are true, Chuck.
Everything is opinions, Chuck.
No, not everything is opinions.
Everything is an opinion. Yeah, every claim that I make, every claim that I make is an opinion that I hold.
Mm-hmm. If all we mean by like an opinion is like it's something you believe, well, yeah, of course. Like all of these things that we're discussing are beliefs, but not all beliefs are created equal. Some beliefs are evidenced, some beliefs are proven, and some beliefs are false.
There is no belief in faith, i.e. God, existent or non-existent, that is provable.
We agree.
It's only provable within some limited sense that somebody wishes it to be. But they're asserting that God has limits that they don't understand, which is fine.
Do you think God's constrained to the laws of logic?
Let me follow up with where
I just asked you a question because you said something that really raised my curiosity. Do you think that God is constrained to the laws of logic?
No.
Okay, so do you think God has the power to make atheism true?
I don't follow how that makes sense, but whatever.
Does God have the power to make atheism true?
Well, that would have to mean God doesn't exist, correct?
Yeah, so does he have the power to make atheism true?
I don't know the answer to that one, so I will not answer it.
Okay, so unfortunately, I don't know isn't going to help you because either he has the power or he doesn't. So if he does have the power, then that's obviously an absurdity because that means that there's like some possible world where atheism is true, which would mean that it's true in all possible worlds. The alternative is that he lacks that power and he's not all powerful. So which way would you like to go?
You're trying to have a argument that I didn't even seek to have with you. That's your business to try to create whatever game you wish. I'm fine.
You're on the live stream that says God isn't real. Of course, I'm making arguments for God's non-existence.
I think the guy's can
Fuck,
cuss.
dude. I showed up to the boxing match and then my opponent started hitting me.
It's just your assessment, young man.
Yeah, a condescension is going to be a great look for you. I'm sure it's going to go over well rhetorically. You know, being condescending after getting completely obliterated on every single point. That's a bold rhetorical stance.
Chuck, you care enough that you got on this live stream in front of 2,000 people. That's how much you care. More than 2,000 people at this point. So yeah, you do care. You're here. Oh, there he goes. Oh, he did really well. He almost convinced me.
Yeah, I'm so close.
Oh, well. Well, friends, I don't think we have time for another guest, but we got to read some super chats. Thank you so much for being here and supporting and liking and sharing and super chatting the live stream. We're going to read through and interact with the super chats before we run out of time. Design says we need a timer for guests wanting to describe their mythologic cinematic universe. I know, like a yap timer. I think we can probably institute a yap timer. And Bryce Aroni says, I live in a house, but I am also houseless. That's how stupid the timeless argument is. I mean, it really is. And every time you want a house or you need to cook, you just step into the house, and then you're still houseless. You're just in the house. It's the silliest thing. Crucifix Me says Exodus 4:24 through 26. What the fuck, that plot twist? They're referring to the Bridegroom of Blood episode, where either Moses or his son nearly dies because of a lack of circumcision, and then Zipporah has to do an emergency circumcision and put the foreskin at Moses's feet, and it's a whole mess. But I actually think that story is pretty old. It's one of the older stories of the book of Exodus. It's a fun one. 49 says Sapien is the typical lying Christian who never read the Bible and has no education at all. It's embarrassing for his family name. I know. It's a good thing that these people don't put their real names up here, because like somebody in real life I'm sure would recognize them, and it just be embarrassing. Optimus says can't list books past Exodus but wants to talk about slavery. And internet philosophy thanks Mary. I think thinks Mary was 18 for some reason. This is God's best. Oof. You know, the scary thing is, this really is God's best. Like, I've read the scholarly literature, at least for my field, and it's not good. They don't have any good answers. Like, normal people don't have good answers because the best of the best don't have any good answers. And Design says the slavery context that makes it acceptable to the religious is they are the masters. Gross. Indeed. Actually, the funny thing, too, about the law going away is if you concede that argument, which I never do because it's not there, but if you did, then it would just mean you can own as many slaves as you want. There's no restrictions. So that doesn't mean slavery goes away. Salty says, God messes with people's hearts a lot for someone who values free will so much. I know. He really does. He changes people's minds, sends false prophets, hardens their heart. Billy Ash says, big W for Dr. Josh's book, Ian. Top notch. Yeah, it is a good book. It really is.
Man, I wish I did this full time. If I did this full time, I'd probably spend like 3 hours every day reading.
Yeah. Friends, make sure you're supporting Ian's channel so we can get Ian full time.
Yeah.
I am the cheese says presumably most Christians in history didn't believe slavery was wrong. Ask if theists believe Christian slave owners go to heaven. Oh, that's an interesting point. Well, to be fair, in Christian theology, you would just say, yeah, I mean, as long as they ask for forgiveness, they can go to heaven, right? And it's not really like the sins aren't really barriers for most Christians, despite what Paul says. Reverend Nate, thank you for the super chat, says Chris completely avoiding answering question while accusing Justin of distracting sums up what a gutless chud he is. I think that's the case. And chud is a good word. We don't get to hear chud very often. That's from it is an 80s movies reference. It refers to like these underground, how would I describe them? Like underground dwellers. It was a 1984 horror movie. I do recommend it. Anyways, yeah, calling people chud needs to come back in. Let's bring back the chud reference. Tim says, Daddy Justin giving out spankings? If we weren't already gay for Justin, we are certainly now. Well, thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. Only those that need it. Only those that need it. And never children. Froderick, thank you for the $5 super thanks. I appreciate that. And Dr. Fudge says, oh man, he's going to ask ChatGPT to lie for him. We're all so scared. I know. It's crazy that they think quoting ChatGPT is ever going to be a good thing. Like, we should accept what it says. But by all means, try that on like your next research paper in school and see what happens. Gary says, don't understand how someone can confidently assert that they are the true followers of the teachings of Christ, and their proof is that Paul is greater than Jesus. Fact. 100%. The supposed true Christians are following Paul's teachings, not Christ's teaching. And Reverend says, I know the Bible better than you, followed by, can I use AI for this? Chris is so confused because he's high on his own farts. That is the case. That's 100% the case. These people have never read the book. That's why they have to use Google and Chat GPT. Desher says, Chris, another theological masochist. That is the case. That is the case. But I'm sure he read the Bible a whole bunch. He just can't remember any of it. Salty says, I'm convinced this guest just loves being humiliated publicly. That's why he came here after Ian's live where he got his butt kicked. You know what, though? I think these people really think that they're cooking. Like, he probably left Ian's live thinking, I just showed him. Then here we are. Optimus says,
I bet.
Right? He doesn't know he's being cooked.
Yeah, he thinks he has like he tries to have like the confident mannerisms. And with people like that, what you really need is to get them, what you absolutely can't let them do is just roam to the places that they want to roam. You can't be playing catch up. You need to firmly ground them in a contradiction. You need to, I was like literally writing out like the questions that I was just going to keep on asking him, the questions that collapse his position. You need to get ultra linear. That's how you deal with people like that.
Yeah. Because if you let them pivot all over, you'll never finish a single talking point.
Yep.
And then not only does the audience get upset, but you never actually firmly come to a resolution demonstrating the folly of their arguments. Yeah, we don't let the pivot happen. JCH says, did God write law? He don't exist. Well, that's the case, actually. Everything in the Bible is something a man wrote about God. Thriver Scapegoat says, it's very interesting how some people can enter your house and tell you how to decorate it. I know. I'll never understand Christians or believers that come in here and they think they're going to dictate how things go. It's crazy to me. Crazy. Rip Steakface says that Christopher Guest is the crash out king. He's a polytheist. What's that next word? L4TMSG?
Iodized for the Morton Salt girl.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure stay ionized for the Morton Salt girl. May she preserve us all.
I love it. May she preserve us all. All right, Morton Salt girl. We need some emojis for that. Let's see. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to make an emoji of the Morton Salt girl.
Does it do pictures?
Yeah.
That
does. Duke, thank you for the $2 super thanks. And Carissa, thank you for the 10 memberships to Unapologetic. I really appreciate that. And Chip says, I thought Sapiens got cooked to ash, but Christopher is so crispy, we need to redefine the scale to accommodate him. Oh, we'd read this one already, but yes, we definitely agree with that. And Duke says, yo, dum-dum, most Christians are Catholics. In 5th century, they had to replace Roman state, so had no choice but to be smart, unlike some, hanging on these two thoughts, both of them borrowed. I know. I'm actually shocked by the amount of people that know that Jesus was quoted in Matthew 22, and they don't know that he's referring to the law. When the question that was asked to him is, what are the greatest laws of Moses, basically. 49 says, LOL, that was the first time I've ever seen the app say, this guy sucks too much, you have to boot him. That Christian love and honesty shining through. I know. You don't get that too often. Yeah. AG says, him coffee? Every 5 seconds to get on ChatGPT is so tiring. Oh, teacups. Yeah, him teacupping every 5 seconds to get on ChatGPT is exhausting, and it is ridiculous. Kat, thank you so much for the $50 super chat. Let's get some W's for Kat Willis. Says, my coworker and I were debating Matthew 5:17. He says Jesus fulfilled the old laws because it says disappear from the law until everything is accomplished. He's claiming that fulfilled and accomplished are the same thing. My name is pronounced, Cato. Cato. Okay, so like the Cato Institute. Okay. Yeah, so that's just simply not true. Because if you just read it, what he says in Matthew 5 is that not until heaven and earth pass away. So the problem that you have to contend with is that heaven and earth had never passed away, right? So he says, do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I'm come not to abolish, but to fulfill. First of all, fulfill doesn't mean to abolish, by the way. So if fulfill and abolish are opposites, then it doesn't matter if you think Jesus said that all is fulfilled. All being fulfilled isn't an abolishing of the law, but it says, for truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter or not one stroke of a letter will pass away from the law until all is accomplished. Well, all being accomplished must mean all things, everything. We're not talking about the crucifixion. And Jesus, when Jesus was crucified, he didn't say all is accomplished. He said it is accomplished, meaning his death. That's it. So what we have to contend with is that all being accomplished must include the heaven and the earth passing away, because he explicitly says that the law is not going to go away until heaven and earth pass away. So no matter what you think all being accomplished means, it must include the prior statement because it's contingent upon it. So it's a bad argument. I understand why they would say it, but it's just not a good argument. Thank you for the question, though. And Cheese says, would be hilarious to see Justin destroy Christopher's ahistorical slavery apologetics. He made claims about the benevolence of biblical slavery. Oh, God. Well, the problem with a lot of these people is they're not capable of having a discussion, so you never really get to cover a lot of ground with them, right? So they end up over-talking you, so you end up over-talking them, and you never really have a real conversation, so it's really hard to go from point A to point B when they're fighting you like a toddler as you're dragging them from point A to point B. And Dr. Wasamba says, what is it with this feel, bro, with the squealing and cackling? Yeah, that is a specific thing that some of the younger apologists get into.
Yeah, I don't know. It's well, that's like the other downside about learning to debate on Discord. I mean, in theory, like you do learn like useful skills from it. In practice, if you take these skills, if you try to debate like you would on Discord, off of Discord, you just sound like super crazy. Like, Joker laughing and attempting to steamroll your opponent might go pretty well on Discord, but then on TikTok, like you're just gonna sound pretty unhinged.
Yeah, indeed. Reverend Nate says soliloquy, huffing and puffing so hard they're making doors and window flaps across town. That's a good one. That's a good one. And 49 says, and here I thought Christopher was a fake intellectual. Soliloquy is so insecure he is almost crying when he can't engage with a question. I mean, that is the case.
Mhm.
Yeah. Which is why they have to run at the end. Once they run out of like room to cry and complain and do meta, they have to run or else actually engage, and they're not going to engage. Dr. Wasamba says, thanks, Kitten, for coming to our rescue after solo IQ and his rant. The kitties do provide a level of entertainment, I think, if you like cats, and I do.
Solo IQ is brutal.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Doctor coming in again says, how much fish would this chuck if this chuck could chuck fish? His ears are plugged with one of the fish that Jeebus used to allegedly feed 5,000. I mean, that is the case. I don't believe that Chuck is truly agnostic. I think he's a closet Christian, but that's just me. That's me. Reverend Nate says, what's with all the room temperature IQ callers today? It was bad, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like one after another. I'm trying to think, did we get anyone? No, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think we got anyone that was like, wow, ho ho, what a good talk it was,
Yeah, they were all out of their minds.
Yeah.
Jenny,
not one with a bit of humility.
No, which is funny because you would think that if you wanted to win souls for Christ, your behavior would be super important.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Jenny, or Genji, says, Ian, first of all, Genji, thank you so much for the $50 super chat. That's mega huge. Says, Ian, what do you think of Oppie's miracle of theism?
I don't know. I'm unfamiliar with like an Oppie's miracle of theism. Do you mean Mackey's miracle of theism? I know that J.L. Mackie has a book titled Miracle of Theism, and I've never read it. I'm sure it's probably good. You know, Mackie basically like resurrected the problem of evil and brought it into modern day analytic philosophy. Um, you know, he does a lot of good work. He did error theory and has like an interesting model of causation. So I'm sure he makes like good, true arguments, but I haven't read it.
And Chili says, y'all are awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. By the way, you're like good cop, bad cop. I think you know who is who. I think we all know who the asshole cop is here.
Are you sure? I feel like we're like bad cop and like worse cop.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm definitely the grumpy boomer of the group, but I'm okay with that. When you yeah, we'll move on. Ian, relax in emoji form now. Oh, I don't know how we emojify that. Let me think on that. Fiber deconstruction. Thank you for the super chat. Says Christians are crucified by substance. I mean, crucified by substance, a stone rolled over the rhetoric, and are waiting outside for their bad arguments to resurrect. But like Christ, that will never happen. Indeed, cyber deconstruction, it's never going to happen. Their arguments are dead on arrival, just like Jesus is right now. And Brian says, loud, arrogant, and wrong. Z Caller has error Gantz. I see what you did there. That was good. Where's my drum? Do I have a drum? No. Damn it. I don't have a drum. Oh, well. Here we go. We'll do this. We got that going. Good joke. And Genji, for another question for Ian, thank you so much for the super chat, friend, says, Ian, here's some cash to buy Miracle of Theism. Hell yeah.
Whoa. Thank you. I appreciate it.
That is what's up. We appreciate that.
I'll give it a purchase. Thank you.
When Ian learns, we all learn. And that's one of the best benefits of being in this community is we're all kind of in this thing learning together. And I would much rather learn philosophy from Ian than, well, from anybody else. To be fair, that's where I'm standing on it.
Maybe if soliloquy says more philosophy words, it'll all start to piece together. You know, the picture will emerge.
Right. Actually, we got one more super chat from Dr. Wasambla. Says, had to stop washing my locks for this. Y'all do great work. Justin, check with Joel and Mezzo about an awesome deconstruction testimony that came up on Atheist Sunday School today. Well, hell yeah. I'll have to rewatch it. Thank you for the suggestion, Dr. Wasambla. And Joel and Mezzo are amazing, actually. So, Ian, are you going live after this?
No, I'm going to spend time with my girlfriend.
Good. Enjoy yourself. I'll be live at 5:30 Eastern Standard Time on the Atheist Experience. And then I don't know who's live after that. I think sometime this evening, I think Dalton's going to be live. And I don't think Dr. Blitz is live at all. So I think that's what we've got on the docket. But friends, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting our work and letting us drag you through some of those calls. I know some of them are a little bit unbearable to listen to, I bet. But hey, you guys stuck it out. We really appreciate that. All right, we'll see you soon, friends. Next week, same time, same place.